right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back and watching this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part, but don't worry, you still will very much enjoy this this stream. But make sure you're here and do me a quick favor. I'm trying to get you guys, more of you guys in the live stream. Let me know what time, and include the whatchamacallit, brain fart, the time zone. What time in time zone are you watching this? Let's also give a big thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. Welcome. MJ is here. Indeed, it is Friday, and we are gonna have some fun. So the we've talked a lot about Gen Z and how they're kind of in this as a millennial, it's very familiar for all of society's problems to be blamed on my generation. But luckily, we're kind of aging out of that, and now that's all being shifted to Gen Z. Now every problem with society is Gen Z, and I'm kind of okay with it. But on a more serious note, we want to, we're always looking to see, like, okay, when they get to be, around 30 years old, real people, what are they going to do? I remember when all this wokeness was just kind of kicking up and just kind of starting. I was like, what, with all the protests at colleges and for speakers, and I was laughing. I was like, oh my goodness, these college kids, they think they can just yell and scream and get their way. Wait until they get to the real world. And then they took over the real world and acted exactly like they did in college. And again, I say they, but I myself am a millennial. So it's important to understand, is that going to be the case with Gen Z? And if not, then we have to bring up the question, are the millennials and Gen Z, just throw them to the side and put all our focus on Generation Alpha? So we have this young woman here, Freya India. She's a writer and a journalist, and she's on the Triggernometry podcast. And they jump into a bunch of different issues about, what Gen Z is going through. And hearing it from the horse's mouth, I think, is a very good exercise, instead of, adults talking about what are, not children, but Gen Zers, Zoomers. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know. And there goes the demonetization. No sound on the video. Thank you very much, MJ. Let's try that again. And kind of just going through some intro stuff. I'm not going to bother restarting it. Hey, we got
now they come in.
We got Dan Jensen in the building. Welcome to the party, brother. So glad to see you. Glad you are here. Yeah, they were just going through
with pictures of themselves with a Snapchat filter on. So I think it's definitely the result of social media creating unrealistic beauty expectations that are just kind of robotic, cyborgian look that you just can't replicate without filters.
If you had a teenage child now, would you let them on social media?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't.
All right, well, before we wrap up then, what do we do about all this?
Right, Triggernometry, let's do it. Let us know you're here.
Hello.
We want to hear from you. Be part of the party.
Welcome to Triggernometry. I'm Francis Foster.
I'm Konstantin Kisin.
And this is a show for you if you want honest conversations with fascinating people.
Now, remember, we have done a show where Konstantin, the guy in the maroon jacket, was the guest on another podcast. And the reason that we did that was specifically so that when we come back to use Triggernometry as what we're focusing on, that we have a better idea of who the interviewers are. And so Francis, the guy in the blue, wasn't there. But speaking to Konstantin, he comes off a lot more likable on his own podcast. And I forget what show he was on, but he was very squirrely in a lot of different areas. And so, I'll point it out if we see it, but just keep in mind, that is exactly why we did that stream, so that when we have this stream, we know what we're dealing with.
Our fantastic guest today is a young writer who's going to shed some light onto whatever's going on with young people today. Freya India, welcome to Triggernometry.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you on. I am a massive fan of your writing, I have to say. And you don't write a huge amount, but all your articles I've read, and I thought this is someone who's offering a new and different take on some of the issues that actually don't get talked about.
That's actually a small thing, but very interesting, because the way that, you guys know, any kind of social media, YouTube, Instagram, all of those things work on consistency. And I think the good thing about Substack, which, if you're not familiar, is basically it's like an online, it's like a decentralized online newspaper. So you can kind of like having your own YouTube channel, you can have your own Substack, but it's for journalists, it's writing and articles like that. And so I think the beauty of that is, and us talking to Freya here, not being somebody who's just, going the route of BuzzFeed and just shooting out whatever is going to get picked up in the algorithm, but actually spending the time to care about what she is saying, and taking the time to, really make sure that what she is saying is legit and not just going for the clicks.
Plus, Francis and I are now both in our 40s, so we need a young person to tell us what's going on with young people. But before we do all that, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? How are you? Where you are? What's been your journey through life?
We love that.
So I graduated in 2020.
Graduated in 2020. Oh my God, I graduated in 2012. All right. Okay. All right. Just old man moment.
I studied politics at uni, and during that first lockdown, I just started to contribute to a couple of online magazines, so places like The Spectator, The New Statesman, The Independent. And initially I was writing a lot about politics, social justice activism, feminism, that kind of thing. But I felt that I was getting a little bit caught up in what would get engagement, what was kind of trending at the time. So I wanted to take some time to think about, well, what do I actually know and can actually give some value on?
Good.
And at the same time, I was...
So even before she brought it up, that's something that, I noticed that, especially with Gen Z, because they are the TikTok generation, that it's all about clicks and attention.
Seeing headlines everywhere for Gen Z's anxiety, epidemics, rise in depression, self-harm, suicide, that kind of thing. So I decided to make that my focus. And I'm currently working on a book which is kind of a deep dive into girls and their mental health, and basically how we got into this mental health crisis.
And one of the things you talk about a lot is the young women in particular.
Yeah.
What's going on, right? Because we don't know. We keep seeing headlines, as you say, there is mental health crisis. Everyone's got climate anxiety. I joke about it, but you know what I mean. Like, what's going on with your generation?
And this is the whole point. This is the whole point, guys, because even at, I know some of you are younger, some of you might be Zoomers, but most of the people who are watching this have not been a teenager in quite a while. And so we can talk about these things in the abstract, but to have somebody who is actually of that age, we're finally getting to the point where there are people in that generation who are capable of having these discussions. Very excited.
So
you sound so old, mate.
I am. You got to embrace the oldness now, mate. But what is going on?
Well, I think there is a mental health crisis. I genuinely do. I think in the early 2010s, there was this spike in anxiety, depression, other things like eating disorders. And I think at the time, a lot of people thought that's just nothing new. That's just kind of adolescence and coming of age. Like, you everyone feels a bit anxious, has body image issues at that time. But if you look into it, the self-harm and suicide rate was also going up at the same time, massively. So like in America, between 2012 and 2019, the suicide rate for white middle-aged men increased by 3%. But for girls aged 10 to 14, it increased by 138%.
138%? Wait, what was the time frame for that? Wait a minute.
2012, massively. So like in America, between 2012 and 2019, the suicide rate.
So yeah, 2012 is when I graduated college, and then 2019 was the last normal year we had until Rona. So in that time, male self-deletion, which is way higher to begin with, let's just put that out there, way higher to begin with, only went up by a few percentage points, which is not great, but compare that to 138% in women. That is crazy. I would never, if you had just asked me, I would probably say, if you just asked me how much, has female self-deletion gone up since in that time period, I would probably say something like 30-40%. And I would think that because that being a high number as compared to the increase in males, but I would think that'd be connected to all this gender stuff. There's no dumb questions here, MJ. Let her rip. I'll come back.
For white middle-aged men, increased by 3%. But for girls aged 10 to 14, it increased by 138%.
So MJ says, but what are they saying is included in that statistic? Biological girls only? That is the opposite of a dumb question. That is a fantastic question. And I bet you, now that you say that, I bet they are including, because she's using the terminology. It says girls right here, not women, not females. So I don't know. That's very astute. I wish Harley was here. We could get a fact check on it, but maybe they will ask her, and we'll get a source. Great question. Not a dumb question at all. And even if you guys do have dumb questions, I have dumb questions all the time. I sit up here and say dumb shit for hours. Please, we are here. We're all partying together. Any questions are good questions.
Wow.
So it's beyond the normal experiences of adolescence, whatever's happening. But I think what's happening now is, young people are having all of those age-old feelings of anxiety and body image issues, the normal stuff, but it's colliding with other things in modern life, like social media, consumerism, all of these things that are kind of ramping up. And I think it's taking those normal feelings and just exacerbating them too.
Oh, MJ, we always after party. We always go to Discord so that we don't have to worry about the YouTube censors. The link is in the description. It is free to join, and it's not just like this forum. We have a voice channel where we all get to talk and voice our opinions and stuff. We will definitely be doing that. So please join, and we already know what our first topic is going to be.
The absolute extremes.
138%.
Yeah.
That is absolutely terrifying, and it's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you, how much of this can be blamed on social media, do you think? How much of it can be blamed on the consumerism? How much can be blamed on other factors as well?
Well, social media is a bit hard because there's not actually like definitive evidence that it's social media. So some studies show barely any effect of social media. Other studies show that it's a huge impact. But one thing Jonathan Haidt says, which I think is important, is that when they're looking at studies on social media, they often say screen time, which kind of lumps in texting and scrolling through Instagram, which has different mental health impacts. Like texting is not that bad for your mental health. So I think that's why it comes out as barely any
Depends
impact.
who you're texting.
Yes, that's true. So there's that. So I think that it's difficult to definitively say, but I think if you look at the timeline, so mental health started to decline in the early 2010s, especially for girls. The iPhone came out in 2007. Instagram came out in 2010. Mm-hmm. You had editing apps like Facetune came out in 2013. Snapchat was doing its AR filters in 2016. So all around that time, these things were happening, and girls' mental health especially was declining.
Yeah. So MJ said, I would love to explore more about the 2012, 2019 and the mood of the US at the time. And all the things that Freya here is bringing up, that, Instagram was coming up, and then the filters. Oh, the filters. That I think, is something that goes a little bit beyond anything that was relevant when it was just magazines, when you were just looking at Cosmo and you were looking at whatever. It's just not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. Hey, Dan Jensen, no question, no comment, just pure love of the game, and perhaps the dog more than myself, but that is totally fine. That's why every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty. What happened to your bed? There you go. Thank you so much, Dan. And of course, the biggest donation makes you the sponsor of this stream. So Dan just took that spot. Thank you so much, Dan. Before we get back into it, MJ says, and maybe, talking about 2012 to 2019 and compare that to, say, 2002 to 2012, or, a different era. That's, definitely something that we want to look at. Into. Go Dan is right. Thank you so much, brother.
So you can say it's things like the climate crisis or the economy that's affecting mental health, but why would it be girls, and why would it be such a sudden decline at that time?
And Freya, you used something. Oh God, I'm sounding so old. The face moderating app.
Yeah, Facetune.
So explain to people, like me, who are very old, what is this app? What does it do? What is the purpose of it? And what are the effects on young girls?
So Facetune is an editing app, selfie retouching, they call it.
Real quick, for those of you, because I imagine that not too many people here are face tuning their social media. How many of you are familiar with the app, and how many of you have actually used the app? Because I mean, the level, I just didn't realize it was this level. It was at this level.
And you can basically do anything on it. You can tan your skin, you can whiten your teeth, you can restructure your face. They've just introduced a new feature where you kind of film yourself doing something, like walking around a room. You can freeze the frame, edit your waist. So
Whoa! What? I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you. Look at this. Look at this. Well, actually, let me pop in right here. Like, I mean, the size of her hips, the size of her hips, the size of her stomach, and I mean, like, I think the thing that she's about to get into is that, like, okay, yes, you look better, but it's not like you look terrible. You got some wide hips, but it's not like you got fat rolls and everything going on. To feel like you need to do that is really, that's disheartening. MJ said she would like to whiten her teeth. Well, they do sell things that will actually whiten your teeth. I think I need to do that too. Too much. I quit the coffee, and then I went to Kratom, and then all of that stuff. They stretched her hair length. Let's see this.
So it's tiny, and then when you play the video, that will stay for the whole video, and it looks like that's just your body.
Length. I don't know why I thought
so. The technology is just seamless now. You can't tell that it's been edited.
Oh my goodness. Hey, we got Nick Alexander in the building. Welcome to the party. He said it's false advertising. That is a fact. And I mean, I think I remember seeing this clip where, hold on,
it's been down.
Oh, no. I thought that was one of the clips where they actually show the before and after, but like, I had no idea that you could do that. I mean, I knew that the technology existed. I'm not saying that I didn't know that I mean, obviously I've seen, like Marvel movies and stuff, but I'm saying just stuff you can do from your phone. That's insane. That is insane. Good call, Nick.
Downloaded like 60 million times, I think. And I think it's something like 75% of girls posting or users posting on Instagram are using Facetune.
All of them?
And the funny thing about Facetune is that, it used to be a bit of a secret among teenagers. Like, they would use it and they wouldn't want other people to know that they're using it.
Right.
Whereas now it's kind of been rebranded in this whole feminism, self-love thing. So Facetune's marketing is very much about self-expression and girls' self-love.
Feminism strikes again. It's now it's a feminist ideal to change the way you look. Empowerment.
What?
I don't get it. MJ says, so I wonder about the anxiety someone has when they have to interact in person that sees what they do online. Yeah, I mean, we've heard about catfishing, but I'm not really, in the whole dating scene and whatever, but like, what do you do? Yeah, what do you do when you match with someone and all your pictures are face tuned and body tuned and this tuned and that tuned, and then you have to go meet the person? They're gonna see. I mean, makeup was bad enough. Yeah. And MJ saying with the push-up bras. Oh, those push-up bras could be deceiving. They could be deceiving. My college girlfriend was not super, voluptuous in that area. I mean, I like them, but that little zhuzh can, exactly. Exactly. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. MJ says, I remember girlfriends worried about what their boyfriend would think when they found out they wore push-up bras. Not a problem anymore. We got push-up bras, we got Spanx, we got makeup, we got Facetune. That's not even talking about, lip filler and any of that stuff. This is really this comment here. The anxiety when you have to interact in person with someone who has seen you online. Is it just an expectation out of Gen Zers that like, oh, you probably don't look like that. I'm just going to assume that this is all tuned and not have any expectation of what you look like. I mean, this certainly is not getting me on the dating apps any sooner than that, than I was before. And it just says, I think boyfriends are just happy that their girlfriend is actually a biological female. I mean, that is a good point. They might not be. So, I mean, that's already one step ahead.
So, for example, on International Women's Day, they posted something like selfie editing is a powerful act of self-expression. And it was to celebrate feminism. So the actual app.
What is it to celebrate feminism?
Has become like the act of retouching your selfies has become feminist somehow.
So pretending to look in a way that you don't actually look is now empowering.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
It's completely changed. Well,
is it though? Trying to steal my line over here. No, it is not. It is not empowering at all. It is very dispowering, unpowering, whatever the word is. It says, wow, I am happy. I am 61. I'm happy. I'm 33. I'm happy that this is not, if this was going on when I was that age, I absolutely would get caught up in worrying about, how I look, even as a guy. I can't imagine what the women are going through. And then there's the other side of it is the fact that the guy, I mean, as Nick said, the deception. So now it's on both sides. You have the men who have to deal with, like, I don't even know if this is the same chick, and it could be the same chick, but she could look completely differently. And then on the woman's side, these standards are now going literally beyond what humans can actually look like. She said, no idea what it means to be celebrating feminism, and I'm a woman. Me neither. Sounds like word salad only. You got it.
That's what all the celebrities say. I mean, Khloe Kardashian, she literally face-tuned her own newborn baby when it...
Come on! Is this a troll? She face-tuned her baby? Her baby. Who was going to tell anyone, much less Khloe Kardashian, that your baby is ugly? That she would actually care about? Come on.
It was born. And she calls it...
I was going to say, look at his face.
Life-changing. You've got, there's YouTubers online there's this guy, James Charles, who's got 23 million followers. And he does this series where he gets like preteen, teen girls to send in selfies, and he will edit them. So he'll give them like a nose job, contour them, put makeup on them. And
so if anybody's been here for a long time, anybody who remembers Anna Rude, one of the first panel, or not panel, but one of the first debates I did on this channel was about, you may remember, I want to say about a year ago, there was a viral TikTok that went around from a plastic surgeon who used the girl from Stranger Things, not Millie Bobby Brown, like the older sister. She used that actress's picture and basically doing what Freya here is saying that James Charles does. And was saying, oh, I would shave this down a little bit here, a little bit of filler there, whatever. And there was a big uproar, like, oh, how dare you? That's body shaming and this, that, and that. And I brought on a leftist to talk about it because they were saying like, this is bad. And I was like, okay, well, if you say this is bad, then certainly you must think that giving things like puberty blockers and hormones and surgeries to children and calling it gender affirming care is something you would also be against. And he literally said it's worse for an adult to get elective surgery than for a child. And now I understand why. Because this is the messaging that he's getting. He's a Zoomer, and this is what it is. Nick says being real is empowering and being fake is weak. Facts, bro. Facts.
All the while he's saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with fixing insecurities. This is self-expression.
Okay, but that's not fixing the insecurity. That's changing the thing you are insecure about.
And all of the
hey, we got Indie Film in the building. Welcome to the party, bro. We are talking with this Gen Z journalist about Gen Z. Welcome, brother.
Comments are like, this is so educational, this is empowering. So it's really interesting to me that it's been completely rebranded.
That's really interesting because before the only people who could do that were the Vogues of the world.
Exactly.
And they would take a celebrity and they would slim them down and trim their waist and whatever else and then present an unrealistic representation.
Right. And already that was an issue, causing eating disorders and stuff like that in young girls. And that was actually, just photoshopping celebrities who were already, beautiful women. Now, because it's one thing to say like, oh, she's a celebrity, she's a supermodel, she's a this, she's a that. But like to think that your next door neighbor and your ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend and everybody looks like this, and you look all frumpy because you're not using Facetune. I mean, that is gotta be not good for the psyche. Hey, we got Nick in the building. Welcome, Nick. Good to see you, brother. So good afternoon, everyone. I loved your video about morals and religion. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely go check that out. Conversation between Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro about kind of trans stuff, kind of religion stuff, kind of hit all the topics, and it was very interesting. Just dropped it a few hours ago, so check that out. Thank you very much, Nick. And Dan says, remember to hit that like button. Thank you, sir. Nick says, this all seems like subliminal psychological abuse of young, impressionable minds of the youth. You know why it seems that way? Because it is that way. That's exactly what it is. You hit the nail on the head, man. That is exactly what it is.
Of what that person looked like.
Yeah.
But now it's democratized it. Everyone can do it.
Yeah, I think there was in the early 2000s like a backlash to the photo retouching in magazines. And, we had growing mental health awareness since then. And I think corporations had to come up with an answer. And their answer is to continue profiting off of female insecurities, but now wrap it up in feminist packaging.
But then there's also the flip side, which when we see morbidly obese people and particularly women in.
Well, I mean, obviously we already know where he's going with this, but I mean, how can you have both things at the same time? That this is beautiful, but also you're not beautiful enough, so you need to Facetune. The math ain't mathin'. MJ says, but there is one person or entity that is behind the but is there one person or entity that's behind the scenes orchestrating this, or is this organic because of technology and history of image? So that's a little bit of a complex question. So I think it's a confluence of both. So there are definitely people who are out there trying to orchestrate things, but at the same time, because that is the case, there are people who are getting caught up in that messaging. So there's a messaging coming down from the top that is, I guess you could say conspiratorial or whatever. But then that message gets impressed upon people who actually believe it, and now they will actually believe that we should have a billboard like this because it's beautiful at any size, but also it's empowering to Facetune your entire body. Even though those are completely contradictory ideas, the fact is, it doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to make them feel good. Yeah, Nick says satanic forces behind it all. Okay, so those orchestrating this, is their motive based on harming a generation, or because they want money? Again, I think it's a mixture of both. Because if you, I would say if it wasn't a Chinese-based company, that it would just be about money. And I mean, even not being, so let's just focus on that for 1 second. Knowing that it's a Chinese company, and they don't allow this app in their country. It's literally fifth dimensional warfare. We're done with the hot wars where you're standing across from each other in a line and you just shoot at each other. We're past the guerrilla warfare where you're hiding in the bushes. We're even past the drone wars where you're not even there. You're just controlling something. We are now at a place of fifth generational warfare. And we are getting, the Chinese specifically, but anybody who is on board with this, is getting people to fight ourselves. Not even just amongst each other, but individuals. Individuals turning out like this. That is not, that's what, guerrilla warfare. That's what it was. And so, yeah, I mean, that the people orchestrating this are absolutely looking to harm the generation. And they also want money. But I was going to say, even if it was an American company, there is reason to believe that, again, a little bit conspiratorial, but take it for what you will, take it with a grain of salt, that the ruling class does want a weak populace because they're easier to control, easier to extract money from. So, I mean, it's insidious. It is insidious. Nick is spot on. Satanic forces behind it all. Now, I don't necessarily believe in Satan, but certainly believe with the sentiment.
In Calvin Klein adverts. Now, I've got no problem with a more realistic representation of what a woman's body looks like.
I mean, mate, given the obesity crisis, that is what a woman's body looks like.
Yeah, actually, I saw a lot of those pictures in New York, so you're right. But you just think, what is going on when we just flip from too thin to endangering life? Well, both extremes endangering life.
Yeah, I think just in so many aspects of life, girls are just being lied to and kind of manipulated in the marketing. I think a lot of things now are saying the opposite of what they are. So editing your face has become normal. Empowerment, self-expression. It's become
not even normal, but it's not even the norm. It's empower. It's something that you do. That's crazy. That is so crazy and backwards. It says psychological warfare of some kind is what I would call it. Same here, brother. That's exactly what fifth generational warfare is. It's psyops. It's creating entities or companies or something, creating a thing that makes people go crazy, so that they don't have to drop bombs. They don't have to send drones over. They can just extract the wealth that they need and do whatever they want. Because we're just all day. 150 million Americans are on the app. Now, I am too. But I'm not sitting there all day scrolling through BS. What comes up on my feed is political stuff. C-SPAN clips. People telling stories about unjust things that have happened to that, stuff like that. The algorithm is definitely based on what you feed it. But unfortunately, at a younger age, you're not necessarily aware of that to the extent that you're like, okay, I don't want to continue watching this video, even though I like the video. I don't want to tell TikTok to show me more of this. That's an important thing that I think is, algorithm. We hear about algorithm all the time, but I think that is kind of glossed over, is that the algorithm is based on what you teach it. And if you don't take the responsibility to be aware of that and act accordingly, then you're going to be in a bad way. Now, I'll draw the comparison to being a drug addict. Yes, a drug addict. Because how different is it really to being a drug addict and a TikTok addict? When I was a drug addict, all of my friends, except for one, all of my friends who I did drugs with, we were pill heads. We liked painkillers. All of them except one and myself graduated to heroin. That's just the natural course of things when you are doing those kinds of hard drugs. So don't do them. But I was in that place. But the entire time, from the very first time I ever took my very first pill, I was like, I know what I'm doing here. Not as much as I thought, but I know that I'm flirting with something very dangerous. So I'm going to take steps to make sure that it's not that bad. And so while all my friends were every day just drugs, what I would do is I would go like 3 or 4 days and just go on a bender, and then I would take some days off. So that let my body kind of, get out all the toxins and whatever. And then I'd go back. And I mean, it certainly wasn't a great lifestyle. But I do think that is the one thing that saved me. And just like my drug addict friends who didn't do what I did, who didn't respect the monster and understand that you have to take precautions and you can't just throw caution to the wind. That is the exact same thing that is happening with people on TikTok of all ages. But obviously, Gen Z is more impressionable than older people. Nick says, yes, they have found TikTok has the same effect as drugs. So MJ says, so let's do that since nobody really cared about this poll. Do you use TikTok? New poll. Let's see what you've got to say. Dan says, I don't have TikTok. I mean, you definitely don't need it. I can't lie and say that whatever they do with the algorithm, it is different than like a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. They are fantastic at showing you what you want to see. The same way that pills are fantastic at making you feel really good. But there is a downside. And again, if you're not aware of that downside, then it's going to take you over. MJ says, what about video games as an addictive thing? I mean, I do think there is something there. But video games have been around for a long, long time. And you have video game addicts, but it's not as widespread and didn't spread as quickly as TikTok. And it's something specifically with how I mean, I know it's data collection. I don't know exactly how, but it's data collection. It's somehow the way they collect the data and serve you up exactly what you want to see. It's good. You can easily lose hours on TikTok. It's unfortunately that good. But like I said with the drugs, they're good too until they're not.
A way to express how confident you are, which doesn't make any sense. And then other things like obesity, being healthy, and things like, social media companies saying they want to connect you, feminists saying that it's, liberating to sexualize yourself online. Is
it though? Of course it's not. MJ says, but how does it click your brain? How does it click your brain to be addicted? Is it the short burst of the video? It is, that's a good question. It is, so the main thing is the fact, like on YouTube, you have to click on a video. On TikTok, when you open TikTok, let's just do it right here. When you open TikTok, it just starts playing a video. So I open TikTok, and it's already playing a video. Well, okay, does that. So if I don't care about this, then I just swipe, and just by swiping there, I've given a lot of information to TikTok about that video, and they have probably a million different data points about what category is this video in. Okay, how long did he watch it? How long is it that is this the first time we've served up this type of content? Because if I swipe past it, it might be that I used to like this, but now I've seen a bunch of it and I'm getting tired of it. If I've never seen it before and I swipe past it, it's likely that I'm not that I don't like it. So it is the short burst of video that as soon as the video is over, you swipe and there's another one right there. There's no searching, there's no browsing. I mean, you can browse, but you don't need to. I've never gone off of my For You page because it's that good. When you get that, when you swipe to a new video, I think it's like the slot machine feeling that like, okay, what are we gonna get here? Something good? All right, I'm bored. And then it's just too easy. It's just too easy. Oh yes, it is very, very different. Like I said, you just open it up and you swipe. And one thing that I find very addictive as well is the when they'll do longer form content. But because they upped it to 10 minutes now, but it used to be 3-minute videos. So if you were talking about, and it was shorter before that. So if you're doing a 3-minute video, but let's say you have 15 minutes of content to talk about, let's say some Karen did this and you work at Target and she did that, whatever, and you have just served this story up in a way that I'm interested. So you do part 1. Then I want to see the rest of the story. You got me hooked now. So then I click on the profile, and TikTok will has a button that says just watch. So instead of taking the time to scroll through and find where that video was, how old was it? Is this the next one? You click the just watch and it goes right to the video that you were watching, and the next one's going to be right there. And it's so easy. And exactly, Dan, it takes you away from your own shitty reality. And the shittier reality is, the further away you want to get from it. So that's why to be honest with you, I only use it when I poop. I only use it when I poop because it's short videos. I'm always watching YouTube. So whatever. So I'm in the bathroom instead of scrolling through Instagram, whatever. That's when I use TikTok. Other than that, I barely ever get on the app. So it really is taking me away from my own shitty reality. Nick says it's scary. Something to do with how easy it is to just swipe up. Makes it a lot like a hit of crack or something like that. Yep. MJ says, oh man, what if they had put chemistry on there? I bet I wouldn't have struggled to understand the I don't know what that is. MMOLS? Moles? Sorry, I don't know. Maybe they should put it on there for me too.
Just so many different messages that I think are just lying to girls ultimately. And
I mean, you reading your articles, I get the sense that you're someone who thinks about these things quite deeply, actually. So at the core of it, what do you think is going on in society?
That's a pretty big question. So what do you think is going on in society?
Well, I think for the mental health crisis and for young people, I think, like I said, I think they're having age-old feelings that everyone has, the insecurity, the anxiety, and the things that are happening today. I don't think that modern life is just magnifying them. I think companies are tapping into them and exploiting them for profit. So I think when it comes to Gen Z, the worse our mental health gets, the more companies can sell us solutions.
Now, so the girl is 23 and the dudes are in their 40s, early 40s. Well, Francis said Constantine said he is, well, one of them said they're about 40. So late 30s, early 40s. And she is 23.
To our stress and anxiety and insecurity, loneliness, whatever it is. And I think for girls today, they're stuck.
And actually, sorry, I'm going to back that up in a second. But yeah, so that the fact that she is a Gen Z person, the fact that she is a Zoomer is precisely why I wanted to show this. Because again, we talk about this stuff all the time, but we talk to other people who are adults. and it doesn't seem like there's too many people, or maybe I guess it's just time. It's just the timing. Like Gen Zers are just, coming to that age where they're able to intellectualize these things and not just be just kids. Like 23, you're still a kid, but you're an adult. You're a grown person. You have, and obviously she's a journalist. She's successful. So that's exactly why. I want to hear from Gen Z, somebody who's smart in Gen Z, who thinks about what's going on with Gen Z.
With this continuous conveyor belt. Let's get it. To our stress and anxiety and insecurity, loneliness, whatever it is. And I think for girls today, they're stuck with this continuous conveyor belt of, apps and products and procedures that are going to make us feel better. But I think a lot of the time they're just kind of superficial, short-term solutions. We're told if you feel insecure, you can get Botox. If you feel lonely, you can get a friendship swiping app. If you feel anxious, you can download this therapy app. There's just something to fix everything for us. And I think that's why Gen Z are struggling and they're feeling so lost, is because all of those normal emotions that you feel are being tapped into for profit.
Ooh, all of those emotions you feel are being tapped into for profit. Because remember, all of these apps are free. All of these apps are free. But nothing, ladies and gentlemen, nothing in this world is free. So if they give you something for free, then you are the product. You are the product. And something about this idea that everything should have a quick fix like that. That's got, if there's something going on and you can't fix it right away, and you're used to everything being able to be fixed just like that, that's probably going to lead to anxiety. It says China only has things like kids doing safe science experiments on their version. They're making their kids smarter and ours dumber. That's exactly the warfare. Yep, spot on. MJ says, oh my God, imagine if we get a direct hit from a solar flare and we lose the grid. Zoomers will be useless. Well, that's the question that I really want to pose as we're going through this, because maybe right now, sure, but remember, millennials were in that same position, like, oh, millennials don't understand anything, and a lot of millennials are still shit. But I question that the Gen Z doesn't look up to millennials the way that millennials would look up to Gen X, for example. They it's just not this. It's not the same. The internet has changed, social media has changed, and so I'm hoping. Yeah, hope is the best I can give you. I'm hoping that they will see the mistakes, the arrested development of the millennials. They will see 30, 35, 40-year-old millennials who are still acting like children and like, yo, we are not going to be like that. We are not going to be like that. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm hoping. And then if that's not the case, or if it's not the case, then certainly Generation Alpha has been like, by the time they're 30, they're going to be like, what have you guys been doing? Because at that point, millennials will be the boomers that we have today. So we definitely millennials hate boomers. So I'm hoping that we can get something there. That'll give us something.
And Freya, is that the reason why we've seen an explosion in plastic surgery amongst young women? Like, I see young women in their mid-20s, and they've had work done, lip fillers. It seems that practically.
I sound old, do I?
That is true, man. But the lip filler thing, I just find horrifying.
I know. I think that is the result of the New Yorker did a piece on it called Instagram Face, which is this.
Do you guys remember the Kylie, was it the Kylie Jenner challenge where you like would put a bottle or something on your face to make your lips swollen? Does anybody remember that?
The idea that there's the kind of perfect female face, which is kind of like, it's basically Kim Kardashian. It's like the kind of ethnically ambiguous, big lips, cheekbones, or all contoured, everything. And I think girls have been exposed to that so much that they think that's the kind of ideal beauty standard.
And I mean, it's not universally beautiful. I mean, certainly there was a time between it was let's just use Kim Kardashian. There was a time where she was not real, the let's say the Paris Hilton days, where she's a good looking chick, but she had a big nose, she had this, she had that, and then she started getting all these surgeries, and she actually looked really, really, really good. Yeah, me too. I didn't follow them, but just the stuff that I did see. And then even that went too far with the BBL. It's like, bro, what is going on? It's no wonder Kanye was like, I'm done with this. You're not even the same chick I married. Oh, I love reality TV. I wish I had more time to watch it, but especially those Netflix reality dating shows. Oh man, those are my guilty pleasure.
But the sad thing about it is it's not girls trying to look perfect anymore. It's girls trying to look perfect like a computer generated image, or like the face tuned version of Kim Kardashian. And I think girls are then trying to replicate that filtered face in real life, which requires a lot of Botox, fillers, everything like that. Like plastic surgeons are talking about this thing, Snapchat dysmorphia, which is basically that women used to come in with pictures of celebrities that they wanted to look like, but now they come in with pictures of themselves with a
Snapchat dysphoria. You used to go into the plastic surgeon with a picture of Kim Kardashian and say, make me look like that. Now you can just face tune yourself to look so different that you need surgery. Why? Why is this a good thing? Why are we like, I'm not saying we need laws, but why are we not speaking out more about this? I mean, we are, but why aren't more people concerned about this? Oh yeah, we all got our guilty pleasures. I am not guilty at all about it. I just call it that. But I love it. Like, Love is Blind. Oh man, Perfect Match. That stuff is right up my alley. Who could even afford to? Well, that's a good question. And it takes it one step further. That it's not, it's one thing to use Facetune and to be in the mindset that, I have to tune my, and appear this way on social media. But then to say, okay, I'm actually going to go to a doctor and pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for elective surgery that could go wrong because I need that so badly. That's empowerment, right?
The Snapchat filter on or face tuned and say, make me look like that. So I think it's definitely, the result of social media creating unrealistic beauty expectations that are just kind of robotic, cyborgian look that you just can't replicate without filters.
Ooh, cyborgian. That's a good word. I'm adding that to the lexicon. Robotic cyborgian look, like a cyborg. I like that.
And where does feminism come into all of this, Freya? Because you've written about this a fair bit. I take you're not a massive fan of it, or some elements of it.
Yeah, I'd say I think it's become some of mainstream feminism. It's almost like hypersexualizing girls, kind of pandering to the male gaze, doing everything that women were trying to fight against.
Exactly. It's come full circle, where feminism is saying that if you don't support men taking women's spaces in commercial sports, whatever, you're an anti-feminist or a TERF or whatever.
What?
That don't make sense. Hey, MJ in the building. Morty needs a treat. Yes, Morty, that sound is for you. MJ said you need a treat. Take it. Yay, good boy. Thank you so much. Oh, I am right there with you.
Whether it's telling us that, it's empowering to, sexualize yourself online or edit yourself or hookup culture, whatever it is. I feel like it's all been placed under the umbrella of feminism and watered it down completely. And I think, girls are just being lied to about what is, beneficial for them, what's going to be good for their mental health.
And tell our audience, what is hookup culture? Because we discussed it briefly with Louise Perry and a couple of others, but we've never really talked about it in depth. What does that look like?
So again, here we have, it's not like millennials don't engage in hookup culture, but when we were, when we were coming of age, when we were, going through puberty and you had your first crush and this and that, we didn't live in the dating landscape that we have now. So even though we weren't, going out to the club and trying to sleep with girls at 13 years old or whatever, you'd have a crush on a girl and, you write her a note, and it was still different. But Zoomers have never even seen that world.
Well, it's a bit difficult because kind of two things are happening. There's this rise in people having casual sex, but there's also a decline in sex in general. So Gen Z are having less sex.
So that's an interesting dichotomy, that there's more casual sex, but there is less sex. So there's less sex. And of that sex that's happening, it's usually not in, in the confines of a relationship or anything like that. Sad. I'm just saying, this is such a strange conversation, and she comes across so matter of fact, like someone talking about it as if about if the milk is okay or gone bad. Spot on, because this is the only reality she's ever known. We can see the difference between how things were when we were younger, but like I was just saying, this is all they've ever known. So of course she's not going to be like outraged, because she didn't know any different. This is just life, not just to her, but to Zoomers in general. This is what life is.
Than any generation before us at the same age. We're less likely to go on dates. We're less likely to have had a relationship. So it's not like it's kind of this crazy hookup culture that everyone's engaging in. But I think what is happening is you go on a dating app and you're basically competing in a market, and you're looking for engagement and swipes just like you are on social media. And I think for girls to stand out in that market and to make sure that you're getting matches, it's almost like you feel you have to
be a pick-me,
engage in casual sex or commodify yourself, objectify yourself online.
Yeah, and I can totally understand not totally understand, obviously. I've never been a Zoomer girl, but I can understand what she's saying and how that would affect what you have to do in order to try to get a boyfriend. Because if you're not willing to, there are so many women who are willing, with the right guy, to be casual. There's also the desire from both ends to be casual, whereas that used to be more of a male thing. And even if you want to be more traditional, if you want to be more chaste and you don't want to run up your body count, well, if this is a guy who, you legit have chemistry with in some type of long-term scenario, you might not ever get past the first date if you're not willing to put out. And I don't think that's a good thing at all. I mean, if you want to go out and do your thing on the first date, go for it. But for that to be the norm is a bad thing.
So I think when I talk about hookup culture, I mean the pressure on girls to engage in casual sex to get a relationship. I think that's definitely happening now, but it doesn't mean that we're having, way more casual sex, because we're not.
So MJ says, what about the male point of view? Someone of the same age group, 22 to 28, do they feel the same? And I would, I'm 33, so 28 is close. But thinking of somebody on the younger end, I would assume so. I would assume they feel essentially the same way. Not exactly the same way, because they're looking for sex, but kind of. I mean, even where I'm at, where it's just like, it's not really worth it because of how the market has changed. This is an old red pill talking point, but, Instagram and dating apps and social media and all that stuff have widened the pool of who is a reasonable match for any given woman. Especially if you live in a small town in Ohio, then it's like, all right, there's 12 dudes who aren't losers around you. And so you pick the best one out of the 12. And if you're, there's 3 girls who are hotter than you or nicer than you or whatever, then you get that's the pool. You open it up to the entire world, and you get the mentality, well, if I ain't getting flued out to Dubai by the second date, then what are we doing? They said, I would love to hear what a guy thinks about those filters, dating, hookup, and long-term plans. Well, we definitely heard from Nick saying, that it's abuse, that it is deception, and that it's far, far from empowering. And I would think that is, especially again, because a lot of the messaging about dating is centralized to the spaces that they are. There's a lot of the same talking points, so a lot of them are going to have very similar types of ideas.
Yeah.
And why not? Why aren't your generation having as much sex as previous generations?
I think it's a mix of things. I think that obviously we spend more time on screens, so we are more cautious about going out and doing things in the real world, even just making friends. So something that's like a sexual encounter seems really uncomfortable for people.
Right. So if you, as a millennial, I am the first generation that's like, why are you calling me? Why are you calling me? You're just calling me without texting me first? What are you doing? There's very, very few people for whom I will answer a phone call unsolicited. Don't call me. Text me. And so that same mentality now goes for everything, because it's not just basic communication that you can do that's not in person. You can have an entire relationship. You can build an entire community. Which is good. But when you have that and you're not used to going out and just even seeing other people, talking to other people, then getting naked in front of them is certainly going to be uncomfortable. Nick says, when I was in high school, graduated in 1998. I think my brother graduated in 98. It had already gotten to the point where the guys wanted the relationship and the girls were sleeping around. Seems strange to me. Wow. So it already started back, and that makes sense. Yeah. In the 90s. I mean, it was in the 90s. It was a common saying when it came to, I guess, sexual liberation, that like, hey, it's the 90s. And that meant that, we're in a progressive time. Things are different now. And this is exactly what Nick is talking about. That I think that is typically the sentiment that was expressed behind, hey, it's the 90s. We can do this now. And look where we are. Look where we are.
And I also think Gen Z are just quite risk averse about relationships in general. I mean, whether it's from, dating apps or online porn or those things, or whether it's just seeing our parents split up. 1 in 3 Gen Z see their parents split by the time they're 16. So I can see how we'd be a bit more cautious about dating and getting involved with that.
Yeah, Dan. I mean, I am just old enough to have been, allowed to go out of the house before cell phones were really ubiquitous. And so it's like, okay, from the landline, you call and be like, all right, I'll meet you at this place at this time. And then you just go. And if they don't show up, they don't show up. Like, there's no, like, hey, where you at? Nothing. And now Dan's saying, not even with a phone call. He just, I don't know how long is 10 kilometers? I guess. I'm going to guess 22 miles. But yeah, times they are a-changing. Just says, wasn't that when sex was allowed to be depicted on primetime TV? I don't know exactly when that happened, but certainly by the 90s. Yes. Yeah. And we can see how much the cultural values affect the behavior of the society. That is why, I've been bringing this up a lot more lately, that people will talk about how the culture war is stupid and there's real things going on and this, that, whatever. And I agree to a certain extent, but the fact is people don't care about politics. And so if you want them to or if you want anything to change, then you have to, say I went the wrong way. I was thinking like, okay, kilometers probably a little bit more. So whatever, it's about 7 miles. That's, that's not a trek, but it's not close. It's not close. And so, yeah, focusing on these cultural issues it's extremely important, because this is what dictates what our society will look like in the coming years.
That's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. Yeah.
And the pandemic must have played its own part in this, surely.
Yeah, I think all of these things were happening before. So the anxiety, the spending too long inside, all of that. So Jonathan Haidt said that teens were already socially distanced by 2019. So the pandemic didn't really make a big of an impact.
Wow. I was not expecting that it didn't really make that big of an impact. So, I mean, it definitely had a big impact. What are you doing? It definitely had a big impact, but she's saying it had a lesser impact than it probably had on millennials because they were already socially distanced, just by virtue of how they live their lives.
For that. But I think for girls especially, the pandemic was really bad because girls really depend on that face-to-face contact, whereas boys they bond through like side-to-side contact, stuff like shared activities like video gaming, for example. So they spent a lot of lockdown doing that, talking to their friends, gaming, whereas girls were just kind of passively scrolling through Instagram, comparing themselves to everybody else on their phone. And we saw this rise in school-aged girls having depressive episodes, girls being taken to emergency departments for their mental health. So I think, these things that were all happening before were just exacerbated by the pandemic. And now, we're even further back trying to solve them.
So that's interesting. So it's not even that the lockdown and stuff wasn't that bad. It was that things were already so bad that there was only so much damage that could be done. That's wild. That's wild. I would not have thought about it this way. Are they about to go into the? Yeah, they're about to go. Let's skip that.
And Freya, what impact is porn making upon your generation?
I'm not sure. So she, so again, it says she a freelance writer for publications such as Spectator, Statesman, and Unheard. And in her Substack Girls, Freya writes about the lives of young women today, commentating on such things as atomization, neoliberalism, sexual liberalism, technological dynamism, I don't even know what that is, and a deepening mental health crisis. So it sounds more universal. I wouldn't say I wouldn't guess. She it sounds like she's out of the UK. So I think it's more not the entire world, but like the entire Western world is what I would guess.
I think it's a mix of things, and they're different for girls and boys. So I think a lot of it for boys is that instant gratification thing. They don't need to go out and be in an uncomfortable conversation or try and win over a girl anymore because they've got it on their phone. So I think there's that. But I think for girls, it creates a lot of anxiety and paranoia about relationships. I don't think it's normal to know that your partner or, all of these boys have access to, infinite images of women all the time. I think that does play a part in girls' anxiety and maybe stress about relationships, attachment issues, that kind of thing.
And I imagine there's also a thing about expectations, like what boys expect from their sexual partner.
Yeah, and I think, I think a lot of girls have grown up as well thinking that they need to be really sexual, that they need to be kind of like cold and detached. And
this is exactly what I was going to say, is that again, as millennials and Gen Xers, when internet porn became a prolific thing, we had already lived without it. I think somebody the other day was saying the average age of a Zoomer to first find online videos is like 11. How can you have a realistic and healthy view of sex if that's what you're seeing? So far, you're seeing that at 11, then you're not actually interacting with real people as much. You're not having the actual sex with people. That's going to screw things up. That's going to screw things up in your head for sure.
That's how they're going to find a partner today. And the kind of feminists and celebrities are kind of enforcing that, saying, it's empowering to be, just engaging in casual sex. And
is it though? I don't think so.
And kind of being provocative online, all of these things. And I think, for some girls, that's okay. Some girls don't seem to be affected by that. But for a lot of girls, that does affect their sense of self-worth.
And that's the messaging. Well, for some girls, it could be okay. And so because for some girls it might maybe be okay, then we have to treat everybody as if they are that small group of people. When in reality, we know that the overwhelming majority of people who get into that line of work regret it by a lot. And don't make and even the ones who make money, but a lot of them don't end up making enough money to be able to support themselves for the rest of their lives, because you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. MJ says, it's interesting that concern for STD wasn't mentioned by her. Good point. Good point. Maybe sex ed should be a little bit more about this than about kink education. Maybe that would come up.
There was a study in the Wall Street Journal which showed that 60% of girls at an outpatient clinic for eating disorders, depression, and anxiety had posted sexualized content on TikTok. So, you know, for some girls, there is evidence that it really does mess with our, you know, anxiety, our sense of self-worth.
Yeah, I can really see that. And also as well, does it make because the whole point obviously of sex is procreation, but it's also about connection between two partners. Does that mean that there's a lack of connection there simply because people are just trying to recreate what they see on a screen?
Yeah, I think romance in general has just been kind of commodified. I think that...
Romance itself, or romance in general, has just been kind of commodified. Commodified meaning like it's just a thing, you know, like a t-shirt is a commodity. It's not, there's no more value than the value of the thing. It's not a spiritual thing. It's not a way to connect with people. It's just a commodity. I don't know how you come back from that. You really, there really needs to be specific and conscious effort to change that social idea, that social norm. If this is where we are, and according to her, I mean, sounds right to me.
You know, you go on like a dating app and it's like swiping through products and you're advertising yourself like a product. You can filter through like you're looking in like a catalog for something. And I think it's really kind of romance and intimacy is just entwined with consumer culture, and it's taken out all of the feelings from it, all of the kind of excitement, and it's made it very cold and transactional. And I think a lot of girls struggle with that, and I think boys as well. You know, we've grown up on things like Instagram, you know, selling ourselves online, marketing ourselves. So for us, it seems normal. But when you kind of zoom out and think about it, an app like Tinder is really weird. That you're advertising yourself, you're waiting for people to give you feedback.
And that goes back to, I'm sorry, I think it was MJ who was saying how matter of fact she's being. Yeah, this is why, again, because this is just the norm. This is just the norm. She doesn't see it as something weird because it's not. It's very, very common.
And you're tying your self-worth to things like super likes and how many chats you have. You know, it's clearly not good for mental health.
And is there another way, I suppose? Because I imagine if you're saying, well, boys are like, they're not going out, they're not going to approach a girl in a coffee shop or in a pub or whatever, as they might have done in the past, then I suppose someone like you, I don't know what your relationship status is, but if you're looking for a guy to come and approach you, but none of the guys will, then you can not be on Tinder if you want, but then no one's going to approach you.
Yeah, exactly. It's that thing again, you kind of forced to. And I think even things like the casual sex, the dating apps, if you want to meet someone, it's really difficult to not be part of that. I think it's easier for girls. I think for boys,
oh yeah, definitely easier for girls to find relations. Maybe not relationships, but relations outside of the apps. But for a man, it's like that's why I got off the apps, because it was giving me false hope. Like I'd be swiping through, like maybe she's the one, maybe she's the one, maybe she's the one. Like, ain't gonna happen, bro. It ain't gonna happen. I mean, it could, it might, it maybe, but it's not a good use of time. It's not a good use of my mental energy. And so I just, it's at the same time though, like she's saying, if you're not in the game, you cannot win. If you're not in the game, you just will lose. And nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to be alone, especially as you're getting older. Come on. You can act like this stoic alpha, I don't need anybody, but everybody needs people.
It's becoming less like, especially with the stuff like sexual harassment, there's a lot of pressure on guys to get it right if they're going to go and approach a girl. But I think girls are kind of noticing it as well. There's less, stigma? Guys shooting their shot, I suppose. I think people are just so consuming things online content, and kind of convincing themselves they can do it that way, that they're just never gonna it's such an uncomfortable situation. Why would you put yourself in it when you can just DM someone on Instagram?
So MJ says, so I know that a lot of my girlfriends were looking for a relationship from guys they met at the club or the bar, but those relationships usually led to breakups. Well, let's be honest. While the bar or the club is not necessarily the best place to find, an upstanding citizen, first of all, I'm sure we've all been at bars, so it's not anything that, precludes you from being a good person or a good partner. But also, most relationships end up in breakups. So I wouldn't suggest that going to the club or the bar is the best place to look for a partner. But to be honest, I think it's better than any of the dating apps. For your chances, at least, of something happening, even if you do break up, are much better. She goes on to say, if people are looking in the wrong place for permanent relationships, yeah, they're not going to find them. But again, the bar used to be the bottom of the barrel, but then dating apps came along and bounced that up a little bit. Obviously you want to do things like getting involved in activities, or getting involved in your community, getting involved in a club or a sport or this or that, even just joining a gym and finding people out in the world. But like we're saying, we're all so used to just everything being on the computer, everything being right there at your fingertips. No wait, no risk, no possibility of being embarrassed, or at least publicly. Makes sense. Friends and family, they found long relationships from places of common interest: university, classrooms, church, activities, and hobbies. Yeah, that's the best way to go. It goes that, bars, Tinder. Nick says, I hate to say it, but it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. I've been struggling with that for a long time. There's, I would say, 3 girls that I've been in love with. Well, let's call it 2. I was definitely in love with both. I've had 2 serious long-term relationships, and I was absolutely head over heels in love. I don't know. I could definitely, I certainly wouldn't be the person I am without those experiences. There's something that you learn about yourself when your flaws and everything are so out there. When you're with, just friends, it's usually shorter bursts of time, and the stakes of that relationship are lower because it's like, we're just friends. I don't, it's whatever. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you're forced to deal with, who you really are and who they really are. And so those experiences are definitely valuable. But is it better? I don't know. I think I would have been fine just not. But who knows? Can't go back in time. So the world might never know. MJ says, and having friends that would also be looking out for you. Yep. And that's another thing, is that because the competition is so high that you never really know who's on your side. Because the competition is so high and everything is so casual, sleeping with your best friend's girl doesn't hold the same weight as it did 10 years ago. It didn't hold the same weight as it did 20 years ago. It's just going to be like a handshake 10 years from now. Yep. I haven't given up. I'm just not, I'm focusing on other things. I'm focusing on things that are going to put me in a better position to find the woman that I want to be with long term. Right now, I'm not in that position, and so I'm putting myself in that position. And then when I'm in that position, then I'm gonna, try a little more. Hey, we got Dietrich's in the building. Let me get that. There we go. Welcome to the party. What's going on, brother? Says, is this the new Austin Powers movie featuring Sheldon from The Big Bang? Oh my God. We got Austin Powers and Sheldon. Good call. We had, who else was talking about Austin Powers? That's hilarious. Austin Powers and Sheldon. Welcome.
And we're talking about this online culture.
Yeah.
And then...
Do I make you Randy, baby?
For boys, they have the incel community, which they're demonized, actually, if I'm being quite honest. Yeah. Where it's just basically men who have decided to drop out. Depression. We had William Costello on to talk about it. It was a brilliant interview. Is there a similar equivalent for girls? The people who just don't want to take part in society and see this and think, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, where is Celibate Scorpion? She is very much a part of the femcel community. So I don't know too much about the actual tenets of being a femcel. I think it's more, it might be just as simple as, I don't feel like dealing with it. Like, throwing your hands up. But I would have to ask her. So I wish she was here.
I'm out.
Yeah, I think for girls, it's anxiety. Girls are driving the rise in anti-anxiety medication. We report having higher rates of anxiety, depression, eating disorders. So I think
transitions
for us, there's this real kind of rise in neuroticism and worrying about things like relationships. And girls
pronouns
aren't going on dates, then they're delaying things like their first relationship. And I think, we don't have as many developmental experiences. We're spending a lot of time engaging with online content, staying inside. And so something like a relationship just seems like this huge, uncomfortable thing. And
it's a mission, as the kids say.
Yeah. And I think to them, it's almost not worth it. For your generation, that would kind of be part of coming of age.
Your generation.
But I think, we've got it all
in the
online.
wrong body.
So, there's the incels for the boys who are, they're not doing it because they don't want to approach a girl. But I think there's the girls who are just so anxious about the possibility.
So MJ asks, so is there something in early childhood that is reducing resilience and tolerance to stress? I mean, I would assume yes. I mean, and so I do have a degree in psychology, so I'm not talking completely out of my ass. Something in early childhood that is reducing resilience and tolerance to stress. I don't know that. Okay, so I'm thinking out loud here. I might go back on this, but I don't even know that it is reducing resilience and tolerance to stress. It might be there's more to stress about, at least from their perspective. Do I believe that? I think I believe that. Let's go with it. I'm still thinking about it, so let's see if it makes sense by the end. Because, again, taking the same concept as the girl in Ohio, at first only having the 17 dudes around her, versus now she has the internet and she can get flown out to Dubai. There's that much other stuff that is now in her awareness. And so every especially if you go on TikTok and you love to read doomer type stories, then TikTok is just going to feed you an endless loop of bad stuff happening around the world. And you don't need to see that. We're not evolved to be able to take on that level of stress. So I still got to think about that. What do you guys think about that? Am I making sense? I don't know. I think I might be talking about my ass. But yeah, there's so much more that they're aware of than in previous generations. You just didn't know what was going on in the next state over. Dietrich says, if people are dropping out of the race to where it's a collective group, should we allow polygamy so we can keep things going? Asking for a friend. You sure about that? I mean, I don't necessarily have a fundamental issue with polygamy. I mean, it existed. I don't think it should be against the law. I certainly don't think the government, that's a good use of our government, making sure that you only have one. Get out of here. Do I think we should socially enforce that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's going in the same direction that everything is now. So I think that would be, I think that would be making things worse. MJ says, especially to this generation's parenting skills. Well, that's what happens. That's what happens, boomers. When you raise your kids and you can do anything in the world, let's give you a participation trophy. We, the millennials, get all the shit for the participation trophies. I just signed up for baseball. Y'all were running the damn thing. Why am I getting in trouble? Or not in trouble, but why am I getting shit for it? But definitely does have an effect. Indie Film says, bullying taught kids to be resilient and stronger. I mean, bullying still exists. It's very different. It's very, very different. It's more subtle and it's more centralized. So it's about the message. And if you fall anywhere outside of that, then you get made fun of for not being not just popular. Because usually there was, you know, the nerdy kids, and then there'd be like normal people, and then there'd be the popular crowd. But now, because everything is politicized and binary, then the cool kids is anybody who accepts the right thing, and everybody else becomes outside of that. And without even having somebody to punch them or call them names, that's a different sort of, I don't even know if you would necessarily call that bullying, but things that build character, things that are obstacles to your happiness at that age, definitely still there. Definitely. The words we use are different. The way that it happens is very different, but it's still there for sure. MJ says, is there a real holding kids responsible for their actions and parents? Is there a real holding kids responsible for their actions and parents doing everything for their kids / and then having more technology that, girl, you need to use some punctuation, and then having more technology that does so many more things that older generations didn't have? Okay, so we're talking about a technology that older generations didn't have. Yeah. Just try again. I have no idea what this says. You don't have, again, guys, you don't have to fit it all in one thing. There's only 7 of us here. I'm not going to lose your comment if you just do one and then the other. And if you just do a ... then I know that you're going to do another one, and then I'll wait, and then we can pull them up together. So I want you to try again and use a couple, because it seems like there's a good question here. I'm just not sure what it is. And just split it up into two comments.
Of a relationship that they don't even want to go there.
I mean, we're having a very sad conversation, if I'm going to be honest with you, because one of the things that strikes me about this is the instinct to find your partner is so strong in human beings, and as it is in all animals, really. So to be able to override that to the level that you're talking about, I mean, these are powerful forces that are at play here.
Yeah, I think, well, Gen Z in general are just having far less experiences. So like when your generation was young, like
that's it's not even just specific things. They're just having less experiences. They're doing less stuff. Wow, that's I'd never heard it put like that. So MJ was talking about parenting skills for boomers. They didn't hold kids responsible. Yeah, parents doing everything for their kids. And or the technology that has become available since 1998. Yeah, so I definitely think that has a huge effect. That the parenting style, I got what you mean. So parenting skills for Zoomer kids. They didn't hold the kids responsible, and parents doing everything, and then the technology. So all of those things are working against. They're forces that are working against a healthy life. All of those things, absolutely. And so again, I would say, when you say parents for Zoomers, I think it again the millennials are for certain the participation trophy generation. So I think a lot of that has continued, but it was certainly the boomers who started that for millennial children, boomers and Gen Xers and And I think it has gotten, let's say in some circumstances, it has gotten worse. But like you're saying, with the addition of technology, maybe that aspect of, oh, we just got to be a snowplow parent and get everything out of their way, or be a helicopter parent and watch everything they do. Maybe that part's not there, or not there as much. But you add in the technology, and maybe there is more of a reason to be a little bit more of a helicopter parent. So yeah, I knew there was a good question there. I knew it.
My parents talk about being so excited to be independent, so excited to move out, get a driver's license. You know, Gen Z aren't driving. We're not getting part-time jobs. We're not going on dates. We're not moving out. So we're just taking much longer to reach those traditional milestones of growing up.
And millennials were the same way. You know, it wasn't uncommon, you know, or excuse me, it was uncommon for Gen Xers and before. If you were living at home at 30, you were a loser. You were a loser. He lives in his mom's basement. He's 30 years old. Now that's pretty standard. That's pretty standard. And that trend is continuing. So maybe Gen Z ain't gonna be it. So let's do a different poll. So which do you have more faith in? You have more faith in the Zoomers or the Alphas? The generations, obviously. Tried to sell me a Lexus and a video game? What? The fuck are you talking about?
But
where did everybody go?
I think for girls, that's especially troubling because the more you delay those things, women are also delaying marriage and motherhood in record numbers. And we know that you've only got a short window of time to do that. And I think girls, everything is getting delayed.
Oh.
And it also creates a lot of different collisions. So, for example, girls are now hitting puberty much earlier. So around age 6, some girls, and they don't know why. Yes.
6? Jesus Christ.
Oh,
they think it's either obesity, stress, or chemicals or something.
That's the point.
Like that.
Oh.
But you've got that happening. So when you have early puberty, you're more at risk of anxiety, depression, all of those things anyway. And you're vulnerable to sexual harassment, predators, that kind of thing. But you've got that now with the delayed adulthood. So they don't have the developmental experiences to understand it or process it. And so,
hey, we got Kelly Green in the building. Welcome to the party, brother. I don't know what this means, but welcome to the party. We are getting a first-hand account on what in the hell is going on with Gen Z. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
So I think we're in this really dangerous position where girls, they're kind of overexposed to all this adult content online. They're developing much earlier, so there are all the risks of that. But they don't have the life experience or the maturity to handle it. I think that is contributing to the mental health problems.
So I guess the obvious question, given the sad conversation we're having so far, is what can we do as individuals, first of all? Because we can talk about societal solutions, and they also matter, of course. But at the end of the day, most people listening to this are thinking, well, what do I do? Or what do I do for my daughter or my son or whatever? Like, what can be done about this?
I think, well, I wouldn't say, I have all of the advice because, I'm not an expert in it. But I think realizing and recognizing what's going on is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there's a lot of like well-intentioned parents who are letting their kids on TikTok for 3 hours a day, thinking, my daughter's not going to view harmful content. She's not going to speak to predators or anything like that. But
but she is. It is pretty much inevitable.
I think there's a lot of things going on that are hard to see and measure. So,
hey, Dan Jedson in the building again. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. He already knows. Look at him. He's like, is that for me? Yeah, that's for you. Let's give a little dance. Yes. He's like, come on, bro. Dance. You gotta earn it, bitch. Come on. Yeah, good boy. Good job. Thank you again. Dan out sponsoring himself. I know, right? Isn't he so sweet? He's so sweet. Thank you again, Dan.
The effect of social media on the development of your identity, on your sense of self-worth, you can't really see that. And I think, you know, the one thing parents can do is learn more about what TikTok is, what technologies their daughter's using, what kind of culture they're immersed in, what kind of content they consume, and learning about it.
If you had a teenage child now, would you let them on social media?
No.
I wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't. And I think a lot of parents don't realize what it's actually doing.
Nope.
So I don't think, they're to blame that they're letting them on social media. And also it is their entire social world.
Yeah. So those are two issues there that really make it difficult for, I imagine, for parents, because number one, it's, Mom, everybody else is doing it. And number two, they don't understand, because they didn't grow up with this. Number one, how, so let's call that 1A, how they don't understand how ubiquitous it is for their kids' socialization. And number two, they don't understand how detrimental and downright disgusting some of the content itself actually is. So with those, I mean, it really is an uphill battle for parents, and I'm very glad I did not have to deal with. I mean, it's hard enough dealing with this as an adult myself, but thinking about having to protect a child from this and navigate this with a child, it blows my mind. Blows my mind. MJS, so what happened if TikTok gets banned? The world would go back to normal and we would all be in utopia. I don't know. The biggest problem immediately is that the bill that they're trying to use to get TikTok banned has a lot of other, BS, let's just say, a lot of other privacy and NSA type stuff in it. So I don't know what would happen. I mean, you remember how big Vine was with kids. And, I mean, people survive. It's not like social media is going away completely. It's just, I don't know. There's definitely a lot of people who, I remember seeing a video of a girl who was, this was before I was even on TikTok, and she was like the top TikToker. And she got in second place, and she like broke down crying, tears streaming from her face. Oh no, I'm not number one. Like, this is the entirety of these kids' lives. The entirety.
Now, so you would be cutting them off from, popularity and speaking to friends. But I think, a lot of parents let their kids on social media, and they do things like screen time restrictions.
I mean, I don't necessarily think it will phase out like MySpace, or like, meaning the next big thing will come and push it along. I suppose that is inevitable, but the question is what, Facebook or MySpace was one thing, and then Facebook came in, and there was a lot of data mining there. People got in a lot of trouble from that. TikTok, even worse. So maybe it will get phased out, but phased out by what? That is the scary part. Yeah, and that might be the case. I mean, that's usually how it happens, is that, whatever is the dominant platform when you're a kid, that's what you use, and then you take it with you as you get older, and then they need something new for the younger generation. But again, the question is, what are they going to replace it with? I don't know, and I'm not looking forward to finding out. Let's see. I missed a little bit of this here.
They don't realize how popularity and speaking to friends. But I think, a lot of parents let their kids on social media, and they do things like screen time restrictions, but they don't realize how tech savvy kids are. They can just skip past it. Like, they can change the time on the phone. They can hack the Apple ID. They can, if they want to view anorexia content on TikTok, they can spell the hashtag slightly wrong and bypass that. So
that That's snaky. You just spell it wrong and it'll autocorrect. Wow.
I think for parents, it's about becoming as tech savvy as their kids. Yeah.
Which will never, ever happen. It will never happen because, I mean, if you look at really anything, but specifically languages or music, the ability to learn at the age of 6 is very different than the ability to learn that same thing at age 13. And at age 13, different than 18. And once once your brain has kind of settled into like, oh, this is the world, this is what I know, whatever, you don't learn and pick up new things as easily. So you're never going to catch up with what your kids know about technology because that's their world. That's their world. MJ says, remember the text message sound that was at a pitch older? Yeah, the mosquito ringtone. It was just this, it was basically like a dog whistle. It was a really high pitch noise, and older people couldn't hear it. So when texting was, first coming around and the vibrate, you remember those phones that the vibrate would be louder than the tone itself? And so you would get in trouble because even if the phone is in your pocket, you just get the zzz. It's like, that wasn't me, I swear. And then, obviously the teacher's looking at you to check your phone in the next 5 minutes. So then you would just get this tone playing. Everybody would, oh, but the teacher wouldn't be able to tell where it's coming from. I mean, it's probably not a thing anymore. I mean, I'm sure you can get it, but it's not as popular anymore because so many of the people who were using it are now our, closer to our age, as well as the fact that there are the normality of using your phone, especially in school. It's just like another thing that, in my day, you were not allowed to have your phone on you for the entire school day. People obviously did it. But now I see videos of like it'll be, those videos of a student trying to step to a teacher or something like that. And then you see everybody just on their phones all over the classroom. And it's just like, I guess if you can't beat them, join them.
That's optimistic.
That is optimistic.
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is where I am, and this is probably where I'm starting to get more conservative, as in ban this filth. Do you think that, and look, we disagree on this, and we've had a discussion about it, and I still stand by it. I don't understand why, if you're under the age of 16, you need to be on social media.
No.
We disagree on that.
No, as in banning it. I think you shouldn't be allowed. I think it should be a government.
By law?
By law, yeah.
Well, the age now is 13.
I think that's too young. Tell me what you think.
I agree.
No, I do think that's too young. I think it's something like a third of all TikTok users are thought to be 14 or younger. And so,
guys, don't forget to hit that poll. And while you're doing it, if you could hit the like button you haven't done already, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's not just, I think some parents think, they might see something distressing or, a predator might talk to them. But I think, if you think how young 13 is, your brain is literally forming. It's the most vulnerable years of your life. And everything that happens to you kind of defines your identity as you move forward. And so I think when you think about it like that, in the most vulnerable years of their life, they're seeing content that's not just constant reels of content, but it's personalized to play on their unique fears and insecurities.
Mm-hmm. And these kids don't understand that they are telling TikTok, hey, this is what's going to make me angry. This is what's going to make me, have an emotional reaction. That's the whole point of the app, is to get your attention. And what gets your attention more than what makes you angry? Nothing. So that's what they do. And we know even, companies like Facebook have done things where they've purposely changed the algorithm to prioritize negative posts. And then you get higher instances of people, talking about depression. It's all just experimentation. Hey, we got JR in the building. Welcome to the party. Dropping the $2 super chat. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Morty. All right, I won't make you work for it. That's right. Every super chat comes with a treat for Morty. Thank you so much, JR. Welcome to the party. We are just talking with this Gen Z journalist on Triggernometry about what's going on with Gen Z.
All of the time. And I think parents don't really realize that's what's going on. So, if you're like a 12-year-old girl who say you feel insecure about your nose, you will get content on TikTok for rhinoplasty filters or editing apps or TikTok plastic surgeons.
Hurrah!
So it's very specific to the unique child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's unlike any kind of advertising we've ever had before.
And so think about what I was talking about with the drugs before, is that I was saying that I think the reason that I was able to be a pillhead with all my friends and all of them graduate to heroin and I didn't was because I acknowledged that I'm dancing with the devil. And I'll tell you specifically where it came from. It's kind of obscure. The first Saw movie. So spoilers for the, well, not really. It's just a line. But the first Saw movie. So if you remember, there's the doctor and the other guy. They're chained in the room and they got to get out. They're talking about, the situation that they're in. And the doctor is like, looking all around and noticing, oh, this is all very well set up. And the other guy is talking about, Jigsaw, the guy who's, oh, you want to play a game? He's talking about that guy. And so the other dude in the room is talking to the doctor, saying like, it sounds like you're complimenting this dude. It sounds like you like him. And it's like, let me tell you something. As a doctor, there's only one way to defeat a disease, and that is to understand what it can do and respect that. And that stuck with me. And for whatever reason, that came to mind the first time I did drugs. And I think it saved my life. And that's the exact same thing with these apps. If you don't understand the devil that you're dancing with, it's going to take you over.
But I don't think many parents realize how quickly your kind of algorithm can change to reflect things like your fears and insecurity. You don't even have to like the content. If you just hover over it, you'll get similar stuff all of the time. Yeah.
And do you think that's part of the reason why we're seeing an explosion in gender dysphoria amongst young women?
Yeah, I mean, I think, any kind of dysphoria, you can see how social media would exacerbate it, because you're kind of splitting yourself into your real offline you and then this online persona all of the time. And you're also seeing a version of yourself refracted back by targeted ads and algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not just seeing the rise in gender dysphoria, it's also things like body dysmorphia, dissociative identity disorder, which is like the multiple identities, derealization, dissociation, all of these things where girls describe feeling detached from their body and just separate from who they are.
So that goes to the idea, she was saying, what was the word? Robotic cyborgian things. And the idea is that smartphones are turning us into cyborgs. They are already an extension. This is already an extension of my own mind. I don't know. Okay, I know my parents' phone numbers and my phone number. I don't put that information in my head. I store that information in here. And that's just the first step. We see all this AI, VR, AR, all of this stuff is going to start working together. We will be cyborgified.
And I think that is because of social media. I think it's unnatural to have the real you and then the you that you're selling and performing for the market. And I'm not saying that causes gender dysphoria, but I think if you already have those feelings, it would take them to the absolute extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, a few days ago, I mean, it depends on how we release episodes, but all
right, let's do this. MJ's got a good one. How many we're not great for that type of problem. Just tell me in the chat. How many phone numbers can you rattle off the top of your head? Let me know. And something special for the person who has the highest honor system. How many phone numbers do you know off the top of your head?
We interviewed Matt Goodman recently. He does a lot of research on your generation in particular. And one of the things that I was curious to ask you about is when we asked him our final question, as we always do, he said, like, watch out for this. And Eric Kaufman has talked about this as well. There's a big difference between girls and boys in Gen Z in terms of their political views.
Yeah.
And girls are moving way to the left.
I was gonna say, it makes sense that girls are gonna go way far left, and that the portion of the generation that we would assume that would go conservative is going to be larger, and I think further to the right. We know already that Gen Z is the first generation to be, So every generation tends to be more liberal than the generation before them. But the degree to which that is true, let's say you have your boomers and your Gen Xers, the difference is that far apart, right? You have the boomers are this is the peak conservatism or whatever. Then, Gen X would be here. So then we switch that now, Gen X being the baseline, then millennials would be closer to that. Further, they would be more liberal. Now that the millennials and the Gen Z, the closeness to that conservatism, the difference there is smaller than it's ever been. Dan says, my own, when I was young, all my friends' numbers. Yep. I think, oh man, I don't want to say it on air. I don't know. I still have the same number, but I think, yep. I remember the first girl. I think it was maybe fifth grade or sixth grade. The only reason I remember it was because I used it as a password, but I used to remember numbers off the top of my head so easily because I needed to. And it's not like we're dumb. It's not like we can't memorize numbers. We just don't need to anymore. MJ says, I remember 3 family members, but about 25 work numbers? That's a lot. Hey, we got the Camcast in the building. Welcome to the party. Welcome. And how is it going? It is going well. How are you doing? Let me know whenever you are dropping your rebrand, because Camcast is another awesome YouTuber. He's rebranding, so we're gonna push that. But you can definitely go check out the Camcast right now and see what he's done so far. But definitely looking forward to seeing what comes out of the Camcast. Welcome to the party, brother. Welcome. So he said, let's take this back.
Views.
Yeah.
And girls are moving way to the left, whereas boys are boys. So
Tate.
Yeah. I don't know. Are they? I still, when I meet young men, they're still. I still think of most of them as woke, to be honest. But
they are woke. They are very liberal, but again, they're not as liberal as you would expect a 16, 17-year-old, 20-year-old to be.
What's going on there? Do you have any thoughts? You don't have to have thoughts.
No, I
think that's the second time he did that. So what's going on with that? What's going on with society? What's going on with all of your entire generation?
What?
You got a little bit more pointed question, bro?
I think that, girls, I think for the average kind of Gen Z person, especially a girl, that, they want to be compassionate and tolerant. And I think there's a lot of people who think, Gen Z just want to divide, they're woke because they want to tear everything down. But I think if you take the average young girl, that's not why she's woke. She's woke because she's seeing all of this stuff and being told that that's the moral way to be. And so she's going along with it because she wants to be a good person. I think, we have to think about Gen Z as, they're young, but they're also, they want to rebel against previous generations. They want to be more progressive. They want to do things differently. So I think that is all normal. And you can see why girls would go along with it because, we're more likely to be agreeable.
Yep.
That ties in with political correctness. We're more risk averse. So things like safetyism, coddling, all of those things kind of play on our vulnerabilities.
I will say that this is the first time that I'm listening to somebody speak about Gen Z from Gen Z that doesn't seem like you're talking to a child. She seems like an adult, a person. She's not talking like somebody who I'm like, oh, okay, I get why you think that, because she seems very what's the word? Is precocious the right word? I don't know, but I'm impressed.
So I can see why young girls have those opinions, but I think it's about giving them an alternative.
Well, I agree completely, as you know. But why aren't you woke? Why are you? I don't know.
No, I'm not.
No, you know.
I think I'm a bit shy and an overthinker, and I think I spent a lot of time just observing people at uni, their different opinions, and thinking about it.
So, what did she say? She said she's an overthinker. When the common problem is that there's just people not thinking at all. You don't need to think. You can just do. So I think that is exactly why she is a little bit more down to earth. And MJ says she also seems plastic or robotic. I think, again, that goes back to the idea that all of this stuff is crazy to us, but this is just normal life for her. She's just telling, like, yeah, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I had breakfast, I went to work, I came home. If you told that to somebody, or let's add in, some technological thing. I woke up, I used my electric toothbrush, I drove to work, and I drove home. And all day I worked on a computer. Like, if you told that to somebody 100 years ago, they'd be like, what? You drive? Your toothbrush is electric? You work on a computer all day? Well, that's pretty just average and normal. Yeah, she does seem she doesn't seem super open and comfortable, but again, she's 23. She's a writer, not a spoken personality. So I'm just chalking that up to her being a little bit nervous, maybe. And then, yeah, maybe because she doesn't talk with her hands. I'm a very animated talker, so I see what you mean. But that's why I'm here. Make it fun. Make it a party.
And I just sort of came to the conclusion there's sort of the woke left and the authentic left. The authentic left, want to uphold human rights, regulate free markets, but they want to have freedom of speech. And then there's this new left that think that the way to do that is policing speech and, focusing on this identity debates and the kind of intricacies of language. And
did you hear it? Did you hear it? We're going to go back, but the identity politics. Oh, the identity politics. That is, I'm sure, what has created this almost, I want to say, fear to stand passionately for what you believe in. Because if it's not part of that identity, if it's not part of that, the narrative that's supposed to match your identity, you can be, ostracized for this. But she said something, and it's on the screen, but we're going to back it up and see if you can see what I am talking about. What perked me up after I'd already paused it.
But the way to do that is policing speech and, focusing on this identity debates and the kind of intricacies of language. And
the intricacies of language. Might she be talking about semantic obfuscation? Of course. The intricacies of language. They weren't so intricate just a few years ago, but now anti-something doesn't necessarily mean you're against it, and being pro something doesn't mean you're for it, and being racist doesn't mean you're racist, and it means whatever you want it to mean. Nick says, I agree with that. She sounds mature for her age. I agree, at least for her generation. What years are Gen Z? That's a good question. What years are first thing? So Gen Z, born in the late 90s to early 2000s. So let's call it, my sister was born in 94, and I would call her a younger millennial. So let's say 98 to 2005, 6, 7, right around that time. I mean, it's always a little bit, you get different numbers for any generation, but right about that. that time period. MJ says, so maybe I watch too much YouTube personalities and expect more animation, but she is a writer, not a YouTube presenter. Yeah. And I don't know if it's that, but it definitely could be. That definitely could be part of it. Yep, you got it. Semantic obfuscation. Dialogical is another way to put it. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so Camcast says 99. He considers himself a Zoomer. So what would you say would be, what you personally, Camcast, what do you call what would you say is the cutoff? Like if you're, and you know what, as I'm asking that question, I'm realizing that at those kind of in between years that, because the other thing it did say about post millennial, where did it say? Yeah, also called post millennials. So there is that's kind of closer to what I would call my sister being born in 94. Did I say 96 before? Whatever. I would think that those in-between years, it's more about your mentality. It's more about like what kind of cultural stuff are you into? What kind of beliefs do you have? Does it fit more in line with the slightly older people? Like, again, being born in 94, my sister was, she's right in that crossover range, but she had two older brothers. So, my brother is 10 years older than she is. So I think it on those in between years, there's definitely some wiggle room. Because I barely call myself a Zoomer, but mentality wise, I'm a boomer. Fair enough. It says 79 Gen X, the last good generation.
I suppose I just thought that's probably not the way to do it, but I also don't think that I'm unique in that. I do think there are a lot of Gen Z who are not woke. If you speak to, the people that I know.
Hey, we got the Beavis frequency in the building. Welcome to the party. So he was born in 84, but a boomer. Fair enough. Welcome to the party. We are checking out the Triggernometry podcast with this 23-year-old journalist who is giving us an insight into what it's really like being in Gen Z. Welcome to Beavis frequency.
I don't know anyone with opinions like that, and I've from all over different backgrounds, not just from uni. And I think there's almost a caricature that all of Gen Z are extremely woke. We've all got these really. I don't think I'm some big exception, but obviously there's the vocal minority on Twitter.
Wait a minute, Beavis, you said you were born in 84 or you are 84? Because we are 84, then you're just saying, oh, you're a boomer, but which is fine. I'm rereading that and I'm like, wait a minute, which one is it?
Yeah.
The other thing that I've noticed with Gen Z is I compare it. So I sounding old again. So when I came of age, it was the 90s. It was Britpop. There was, the music. There was a culture. There was a fashion. There was a hair. It was about going out, lads and ladettes, drinking.
Lads and ladettes.
Getting messed up, taking as much drugs and drink as you can because that's how you had a good time, or that's what we believed at the time. I don't see a sort of a subculture or a culture within Gen Z that when you look back at the punks or, rock and roll and all of these different things, even emos. I remember when I started teaching in mid to late noughties, there was the emos and the emo bands and they had their own look.
That was me. Oh, man. I don't know what happened. But I used to have curly ass hair. If I could have had hair like this in 2005, I would have done anything. Like it would just grow out. And I don't know what happened. I literally don't know what happened. But if I could have had this hair as an emo kid, oh man, we would have done one of these. Here we go. Break my heart. Oh, whoa. Bro, that would have been the life. I would have gotten so much emo girl, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. But I guess, does everything happen for a reason? I don't know. Yep, Dan is our resident boomer, and that is okay because you are, even though you guys completely screwed up my generation, you were doing your best. You were trying.
What?
Sorry, I didn't mean the what.
But I never really noticed that.
No.
With young people, what's going on?
I think it's, again, the social media algorithms and targeted ads. You know, you end up consuming so much of the same content and being kind of, you know, you're targeted via gender, age group, that kind of thing.
So Nick is saying something interesting here. My friends and I listened to as much music from our parents' generation as ours, and they liked most of our music. That has never been an experience that has been part of the millennial experience. Speaking of Austin Powers, it was always that the new music was terrible. That's not music. That's just this. That's not music. Whether it was metal, whether it was rap, whether it was this, whether it was anything. That's not music. So, I mean, just in one generation. It's crazy. I mean, I guess it depends on what exactly you're listening to, because my brother is your age and he was into like underground punk, and my parents are boomers and they were not about it. So Beavis says same thing. His parents loved grunge. Nice. That's awesome. So that's pretty cool, because my parents are immigrants. All of my brother, my sister, and I are all first generation Americans. So, and it's not like they listen to, like, they just listen to, they would put on the smooth jazz station. They weren't into like popular American culture. So I guess maybe maybe that's a little outside of what I'm used to. But even my friends, it's not like they were bopping along to this, that, or the other. And it's like, that's dad music. They all listen to classic rock or whatever. Camka says, that's hilarious. Warped Tour would have eaten you up back in the day. Me? Oh, bro, I went to literally 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 Warped Tours. I was there from the punk to the alternative until the emo, until the end. I didn't go to the last one, but yeah, bro. I'm old. Pearl Jam sounds goofy. I completely agree. That was right where my brother was a little bit more underground. And so like that was popular at the time. It was like, oh, that's posers. They're selling out. That whole thing. I have no idea. Ravi Shankar. Let me, I'm curious. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna put it on my notepad and I'm gonna ask my dad. They're on vacation right now. Actually, when I play the video, I'm gonna text him. Oh, the Canadian one. Aren't you special? Yeah, the Canadians. I went. There was two big venues in Jersey that would hold them. One was way better than the other, and of course, that was the one that they started, and then they moved to. I mean, they needed to. It was a bigger place, but oh man, Warped Tour, good memories.
You know, you end up consuming so much of the same content and being kind of, you know, you're targeted via gender, age group, that kind of thing. So you've got young girls all being fed the same or similar stuff, constantly reinforcing how you should look, you know, how you could be more desirable, attractive, productive, happier all of the time. And you're being served kind of templates for that. And I think people end up the same. So you have Instagram face, everyone starts looking the same. Everyone starts having the same ambitions. You know, most girls, something like 57% of Gen Z girls want to be influencers now.
An influencer? That's not a job. What, you just want to be on social media all the time? And what, give your thoughts and think that people are going to care about you? That's not a real job. Oh, wait.
You know, you see even outfits. Everyone's wearing the
So I just texted my dad. We'll see if he knows, Beavis. We'll see if he knows.
Same outfit, because the kind of same videos are getting pushed to all of us all of the time.
Let's see if we can see this. Oh, come on, focus. Yep. Well, he said yup. Come on. He said yup. So good call. Yeah. Apparently he knows. What is it? Ravi Shankar. Interesting. So Nick says, strange, right? I remember my dad was going to Vegas on a job, and then before he left, if he could borrow my Metallica tape. I told him I could borrow his The Who CD. It was a deal. Oh man, I would have loved to have memories like that with my parents. That like whether it's music, movies, I just missed out on so much 70 mostly 70s and 80s Americana, just American culture, like I said, movies, music, stuff like that, because my parents weren't here. So it was really cool once I got a little bit older, and some of my other friends who had stuff passed down to them from their parents, like yourself, were able to open a whole new world to me.
And so I think there are the subcultures, but they're getting swallowed up by what the companies want to push more of, and you end up becoming defined by, the stuff that comes up on your For You page and the content you consume. And so I think we're all becoming kind of similar in fashion sense and things like that.
And is there a culture where you would go out to clubs and bars and watch bands and talk about new bands or music, or is that kind of?
I love the smile on her face. She's just, this old man is talking at me about things that have never happened.
Well, there is, but I think in general, Gen Z are just doing having less.
Oh my goodness! We got a new sponsor of the stream, Indie Film, with the $9.99 super chat. Morty, look at that. We're gonna give him a nice little snack here. Not even gonna make him work for it because Indie Film is so nice. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Dog is fed. Thank you. That's right. Every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty here. And the biggest donation right here makes you the sponsor of the stream. Sorry to Dan, knocking you out of that spot. But Dan, I love and appreciate you to no end. Thank you so much, guys. All right, let's back this up a little bit. See what
is that kind of?
I love the smile on her face. She's just, this old man is talking at me about things that have never happened.
Well, there is, but I think in general, Gen Z are just doing having less experiences. We're just less likely to go out and do things like this. And obviously, there's loads of people who are still doing stuff like that.
That's the second time she said that. People, Gen Z is just having less experiences. Not less sexual encounters, not going out less, not just experiences. By and large, they're just not experiencing life. That is sad.
But I think for the general kind of preteens, teenagers, there's just not really the desire to go and do those things because you can get, if you want a sense of community.
Oh, Dan Jensen coming in high. Oh my goodness. All right, I got to do a little bit of math here, but oh my goodness. Thank you so much. So let's get a whole handful here. We're going to get this dog nice and fat. Here you go. More. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll give you 2 here. There you go. And then we'll give 2 for a dance. Good job. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is, all right, give me a second to do some math because I'm not smart with math, but thank you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys.
You can get it online. If you want to find new friends, you can get them online. If even things like influencers. With influencers, you can kind of, have that sense of connection from your bedroom, and they're using all of these kind of parasocial marketing tactics to get you to think that you're their friend, and you end up kind of intimately following the lives of these strangers, watching them go to bands, them hang out with their friends.
Join our locals, guys.
Yeah, but I think young girls especially are doing that a lot, and I think influencers tap into that kind of loneliness and anxiety, and then they use it in their marketing. So they say things, they call you your friend. They show their intimate moments
by
in
$1.
their life, so you feel like they're being real and vulnerable. But often they're just trying to sell you something or get engagement. So it's quite sad, really.
Yeah, and it's not a real connection.
No.
Online communities.
We got a new sponsor of the stream, Dan Jensen, coming up with a total of 1168 double digits. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, let's show some thanks to Dan. Dan, I don't know what to say, man. You never come through without dropping a little something, and it means so much to me because I know you don't have to. And I'm not going to get mushy, but thank you.
I mean, look, people make friends online. I don't want to denigrate that, or people meeting their partners online. But it's not.
Better not be talking ish about the Indian Jesus community.
Not like having a real group of friends.
No.
It's not like having a family. It's not like meeting people. It's not.
But it gives you.
It will. Once we do. Yes, her name is Freya India. Freya India. Freya India. Freya India. I forgot what I was saying. What was she just saying?
It's not like having a family. It's not like meeting people. It's not.
But
it's completely synthetic.
Yeah, but you get sort of a quick hit of that sense of connection, and you get like
that instant gratification.
Someone replies to a comment and they relate to you, and they are going through the same thing. Or if you feel like you're struggling with your mental health, you can go online and there's a community for that exact mental health problem, that exact issue.
I remember what I was going to say. As soon as we grow this community, we are definitely doing IRL meetups. We are definitely doing IRL parties. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. If you're not in the Discord, definitely join the Discord. And let's keep the party going.
It's very attractive for lonely, kind of awkward girls to want to, find their connection that way. So I can see why people do it, but I think that kind of instant hit wears off, and in the end it is just a superficial community, and often those communities will drop you as soon as you don't meet what they're talking about. If it's
unlike this community, as we can see from people like No Freedoms and Seabass, who continue to come and be antagonistic. We're not going to kick you out just because you say things that maybe other people don't like. It's a free speech platform. Obviously, I can't control the rules of YouTube, but certainly in our Discord, there are no speech rules that as long as you are following the law of the land, you're good. That's all. That is what it is. But so many groups are exactly MJ. It's so easy to just jump in and out and jump from this server to that server or that channel to that channel, and why not? You watch one channel for 2 months and you kind of get what they're about, and then you're like, all right, screw that, I'm going to somebody new. Sounds fair to me, but it doesn't foster this idea of loyalty. Loyalty is so paramount when it comes to talking about values and stuff. Loyalty. If you don't have loyalty, what do you have? Nothing.
It's like a social justice community, for example. If you change your mind, you're no longer going to be accepted. So I think young people.
Likewise, if you're an incel and you're like, oh, you know what? I've actually decided I like girls.
Yeah, exactly. So I think part of helping Gen Z's mental health, also the woke stuff, is just getting them to engage with people and have more experiences. Because I think the more you do that, something like the woke worldview just falls apart, because you realize that people from all different backgrounds, we've all got different traumas, we've all been through similar things. And the kind of idea that, we're all in distinct identity groups, it just doesn't work when you go out and actually engage with the world.
The fact that we're all in different identity groups, it doesn't work when you go out and actually engage with the world. The only reason this stuff can propagate the way that it has been is because people are perpetually online, and they don't ever have to have these ideas substantiated. They can just say things. Oh my goodness, Dan is staying up 4 a.m, not just to be here, not just to hang out, not just to be part of the conversation, but to sponsor the whole damn stream. Dan, you are a real one. He's from the future. Good one. MJ says, what is with trauma? Trauma wasn't used unless it was on a medical show or when I started working in the hospital. Trauma is used all the time now. Victimization. Now, on the one side, I will give credence to the fact that, talking about mental health in general has uncovered a lot, an understanding that just baseline. There's a lot more trauma existing around in people than we knew before. But because of that, then people go too far with it, and now everything becomes trauma. I had a customer at work and they didn't like me. I'm traumatized. My plane was delayed for 10 minutes. I'm traumatized. That's the way they think. Remember, we're talking about a generation of kids who are used to having everything that they need at their fingertips. So when any slight deviation from what they're used to, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And so we might see that and say, well, that's just life. But to them, it's not life. Or at least it hasn't been. And so that's why they get so crazy. At least I think. I don't know.
We're all in distinct identity groups. It just doesn't work when you go out and actually engage with the world. So I think a lot of Gen Z's problems would be solved through more experiences.
And one thing you alluded to earlier, which is something that we've talked to death on the show, but I still think it needs talking about, is the breakdown of the family and the impact that has.
Yeah.
And that just seems to be accelerating and accelerating and accelerating.
Yeah.
Well, just think about it. If you're having less sex, but all of the sex that you're having is casual, then it's more likely to end up in a situation where it's a broken family. Because nobody's being serious. And the people who are sleeping around are sleeping around. And so it's a small group of people, a smaller group of men and a slightly larger group of women at the very top of the hierarchy or whatever you want to call it, that are engaging in this. And it's not working. It's not working. Yeah, that's essentially her whole thing, Camcast. You got it. Spot on. People need to touch grass. Go outside. Just in Discord, I'm all week or the past week or so, I've been sharing. There's a cherry blossom tree that my neighbor across the way has. So when I walk Morty here, you see this beautiful cherry blossom, and it it blossoms very early in the spring, and then all the petals fall, and it's a very pretty thing, and it happens so fast that we're just talking about. Hey, check this out. How many people of and how many Zoomers actually grass makes me itch? Well, maybe and honey, oh no. Well, how about sand? Go to the beach. That'll work too. Just go outside. Live life. Have experiences. Oh, beach day. Am I invited?
Yeah. Well, I wrote an article about the glamorizing of divorce. Like, I've seen everywhere. Like, the Guardian was talking about the joy of divorce parties.
What?
Yeah.
The joy of divorce parties. I have no words for that. Oh, a shark tooth! Can you make me a one of those cool '90s shark tooth necklaces out of it? Yeah, nope, never heard of that before. Any of you guys heard of divorce parties? I've never heard of that. It makes sense. It does make sense, but it makes sense to want a party if you're in a situation and you get out of that situation. But it should still be a bad thing that you had to be in that situation in the first place. Me neither.
There's Vogue was talking about this Valentine's Day, let's hear it for divorce. The New York Times called divorce a radical act of self-love. So I was seeing all of this.
Again, it's an act of self-love. It's an act of empowerment. This is the semantic obfuscation. Calling something empowerment because you want it, even though it's not empowering. As long as you say it's empowerment, as long as you call it self-love, then it means a different thing. But I'm sure, if a woman was served divorce papers, she wouldn't feel very empowered. These are just nothing words. And I'm not saying that Freya is using them that way, but This is we're just talking about the society. We're talking about the level of understanding that these kids have of these concepts. And it seems like they, because they're not living experiences. Remember, she didn't say sexual experiences. She said Gen Z is not having experiences. How are you going to learn without life experience? And she says, isn't that something that isn't something that any of my friends have been proud of or happy about? Is it just an attention thing versus being happy? I would say it is definitely the former. It's a thing to put online, to get clicks, to get views, to get attention, to get comments, and to get people to say, oh, I'm so sorry for you. If there's anything you need, attention. It's all about attention. It's the attention economy. That's just the currency that they care about. They need to go to an evergreen vacation sales. Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. For those of you too young, look it up.
I was also researching Gen Z's mental health crisis and reading through all of these reports. And all of the reports would talk about things like the economy, the climate crisis being reasons for Gen Z's anxiety, which just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think a 13-year-old cares more about the climate or the economy than if their parents are talking. I think a lot of it is closer to home. And I think there's this denial going on about it because, we've got the most mentally ill generation on record, and family breakdown is just barely mentioned, even though we know that having divorced parents leads to you're more vulnerable to anxiety, depression, eating disorders, substance abuse. There was even a study that showed that parental divorce has more of a negative impact on educational attainment than parental death.
Really? A divorce has a more negative impact on educational attainment than if the parent dies. That's pretty damn extreme. Oh, MJ said it's Friday. Time for another treat for Morty. It's funny how we go back and forth between sad data and feeding the dog. Say thank you to MJ. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Here, take another one. Good job. There you go. Thank you so much. Dog fed, sir. He's so cute. He's so cute. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Really, really do.
So we know that it has a huge impact, and yet it isn't factored into...
Let's just hold on. Let's just take a second there. It is worth for your education to have your parents get divorced than for one of them to die. That is insane. I would pay to see him get fed a treat. I mean, send them a super chat and Constantine's like, okay, open up. Nick says, I believe that. Just knowing my dad loved my mom and myself was huge to me. I mean, it makes sense, but I never would have thought that a death would be less impactful on, she specifically was talking about education. But I think MJ is asking, why would that be the case? How does divorce do that? I think it has to do with a death being one thing. Your parent dies and then you can deal with it. When your parents get divorced, it's an ongoing traumatic situation. So if I had to guess, that's where that would be different, because you have a traumatic event and then you can deal with it. You can learn from it, and you can learn to deal with it, all that stuff. But if it's the worse the divorce is, the longer it takes, the worse your parents get along. Makes perfect sense, unfortunately.
The mental health crisis.
And why? Sorry, Francis. I just want to finish this point. Why do you think that is, Freya? Because I know that, like in our day, you can't talk about the breakdown of the family because you're demonizing hardworking single moms. That's the argument, right?
Yeah.
Is that still the argument, or is there a different, or is being like, is every form of family, quote unquote, they're all equally valid now?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things. I think a lot of it is just this idea in modern life that everything should be fun and easy all the time, and any kind of responsibility is restrictive and inconvenient. And so I think,
yeah, you hear the like, oh, I have to go to work every day for like 40 years. Oh my God. And it's like, yes, that does suck. But without an actual alternative, you're just bitching. That's life. That's life. And again, they're so used to such a high degree of not just instant gratification, but instant gratification to that degree, that anything outside of that is so much more catastrophic than if you're not, if that's not your baseline. Yeah, I just said we are lucky in life. That is facts. 100 years ago, we didn't have penicillin. Facts. We didn't know about viruses. Facts. I wish we didn't know about the most recent one, but you know, we definitely are lucky to be alive today. What I'm wondering is, or is Generation Alpha more lucky to live today as children and not see all of this going on, and then want to be the ones to fix all of this? I don't know.
A lot of parents kind of lived by that. They kind of were conditioned by society to think, you know, the ultimate freedom is your own happiness. I think for some marriages, obviously there's reasons for divorce, but I think that was also happening. And I think now we're seeing the consequences of that. And I think a lot of parents are still maybe in denial about the impact that it's had, because it was something like they asked children of divorce how it affected them. And 4 out of 5 parents said that their children were fine with it, whereas literally
fine with it. I mean, that seems like maybe just I don't know how far I would take that. Like, fine with it. Nick says, don't get me wrong, my dad dying when I was 2.5 years old screwed me up, just in a different way. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, at 2 years old, there's only so much that you can mourn. And then, just like we're talking about how these Zoomers, the conditions of their life are just the baseline, then, you know, as sad as it is, that was your baseline. I mean, how many memories do you actually have? And so as much as it is a loss as you're growing older and you don't have that father there, I can't imagine how difficult that must have been. But if you knew your dad, you had experiences with your dad, you went on vacations with your dad, you had deep conversations with your dad, and then you lose that, and it's certainly not a competition, but it's just very, very different. Yeah, that is very, very sad. Sorry to hear that, Nick. How can you as a parent be happy if your kids aren't happy? I'm not happy, even if my brother isn't happy. Well, that sounds like some good family values. That comes from, you know, all the things I was just talking about, those experiences. And these kids, according to Freya, are not having experiences. This is sad.
75% of the children had things like anxiety, depression, eating disorders,
that makes a lot more sense.
Substance abuse.
It's a hard thing to admit, of course, especially if you felt that the divorce was, you know, important or necessary, or it was genuinely, you know, people can't always keep it up, but it's just, we've seen over the last 60, 70 years, that rate is skyrocketed in every Western society.
I think it's too close to home for people, because if you're talking about it, everyone knows someone who's gone through a divorce or their parents have, so it's really hard to talk about, and it's much easier to look at things like the financial crash or the climate. Whereas I think for young people, their world is their friends and family. It's who's close to them. And I think something like divorce makes much more sense to me, why you would feel anxious, than something far away like the climate crisis.
And what is your generation's attitude to motherhood? do the girls still want to get married? Do they still believe in that marriage?
No, I would say yes.
Having 2 kids, a family, or are they kind of more seeking careers and all of that path?
Yeah.
So certainly they are looking down the career path more than they were, but I think the women of Gen Z definitely want to be mothers. I just don't think they realize what that entails. I think there's this idea that's been around since probably the early 90s that you can have it all. And yes, some people can pull that off. Most people don't want to do that. And it's been sold, they've been sold this idea that you're just a housewife, as if birthing human beings and building them into our society is not something to be revered. Like, I can't do that. I physically cannot do that, no matter how hard I try. But they don't value it. They will. They won't hit that wall. The wall is undefeated. But for now, I think they're just worried about that career, getting a bag, being a strong, independent bad bitch. MJ says, do they really have those issues, or were those behaviors rewarded with attention and making you special? That's a good question. I certainly don't know about I certainly don't know, but it's a good question. Very good question. Nick says, thank you. I remember more than you would think. Oh, that's good. But I figure that is because it was so turmeric. What? I thought turmeric was like a spice. Indie Films got to run. Thank you so much for donating. Thank you so much for being here. And really do appreciate you, brother. You have a fantastic night. Are you making a pun at the perennial plant? I don't remember. What did I say? I don't think you're ignorant. I don't remember what we were talking about. Dietrich said, did you say men can't get pregnant? I guess I'm a bigot. Uh-oh. Yes. I am willing to stand on that statement that men can't get pregnant. Canceled.
Yeah, well, I think it's half of women are now childless by their 30th birthday in England and Wales. And there's loads of reasons for that. Obviously, decline of religion, feminism. But I think there's been an attitude shift in Gen Z. Like, through my experiences, I don't know any.
Okay. Traumatic. Okay, what did you say? So I remember more than anything, but I figured that was because it was so traumatic. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad you got those memories, because that's awesome to have memories at 2.5 years old, and at least something to draw on. But definitely tough situation. Sorry to hear that, brother.
Women in their early 20s who are excited about motherhood, who talk about it, who have it in their vision. I think we're either terrified of it, or we don't want to, or we're putting it off as long as possible.
Why are you terrified of it?
Yeah, go to switch top chat to live chat.
I don't think I am.
No, sorry. You said we are, and I said you. Like,
I think,
what's the source of that fear?
It's that kind of.
I missed what she just said. But yeah, if you so it, I don't know why, but I guess because they assume that there's going to be a bunch more people, but they default on top chat, which is I guess just, I don't know how they pick it. But if you switch it, either if you're on your phone, I think Nick said there's the 3 lines. Apparently, they call that a hamburger. Okay. So either hit the hamburger, or if you're on PC or whatever, you can, where on the top of the chat where it says top chat, just switch it to live chat.
Message again from society that you should only pursue things that make you comfortable and happy. And I think we've kind of emphasized the personal discomfort of it. Everything you'll sacrifice. We've grown up in societies with more comfort and convenience than ever before. So it makes sense that we would be more risk averse about anything uncomfortable. Like, if you go on child-free TikTok, it has like 780 million views, and it's a lot.
What is child-free TikTok?
Mostly girls, pretty much all girls, talking viscerally against motherhood. There's one that does a free birth control series where she just shows you like the most horrifying aspects of motherhood, whether it's losing sleep or your child being sick on you, or all of these things. And all of the comments are just like, they don't even understand why you would ever do that, because they just think, oh, it's all about personal discomfort.
Yeah, there's no there's an immediate simplification of what life is like. If it's good, it's good. Or excuse me, if it makes me feel good, it's good. If it makes me feel bad, it's bad. That's it. That's it. That's as deep as it goes. If it doesn't make me feel good, then it must be a bad thing. There's no concept of delayed gratification. There's no concept of personal sacrifice. There's no concept of working to a goal. What do you think that's going to do? It's going to create this perception that when you are forced to deal with personal discomfort, again, that it's catastrophic because it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, which, is good for you, but you can't see that because you're experiencing the worst thing that's ever happened in your life, which isn't that bad.
And to them, it seems puzzling why you would want to have children, because it just gets in the way of that.
Dan, I am so sorry. I just realized.
So much. But I think it's kind of sad because I think a lot of Gen Z will miss out or delay something meaningful for their own personal discomfort so they can live their best life. And I think it might backfire.
Let it be known. Let it be known. I made the mistake and didn't update the banner. Dan Jensen is the sponsor of the stream.
Do you think it's part of the reason is a whole generation which has essentially had their brains hacked to believe that instant gratification is the best form of gratification?
Mm-hmm.
And children are not instantly gratifying a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think, any of these meaningful things where you have to, your gratification is delayed, you have to compromise and sacrifice. I think as a whole, we find those things much more daunting because we've had comfort and convenience at our fingertips. Anything we want, we can kind of have much quicker than your generations did. You'd have to.
I would have felt so bad. Why would you do that to me? Oh no, my button's gone.
If you wanted to speak to a girl, you'd have to get the courage to do it. If you wanted to get a job, you'd have to get the courage to go in and ask about it. All of these things have been made much more convenient, which is good. But then I think we've developed this irrational fear of things like discomfort and sacrifice. And I think that's part of why we're seeing decline in motherhood, marriage, because those things do come with compromise and discomfort.
And we've seen the rise of Andrew Tate, and I've talked with a lot of people, and a lot of them people have been my age or older about it, and they talk about it. Why do you think he's become such a huge figure to young men and boys in particular, and what impact is that having amongst women of your generation?
So this is an interesting question as being posed to a Gen Z girl. I've never, maybe in like some of the like Liberty Hangout or It's Complicated, maybe very short versions of answers. But I've never really heard a long form answer from a Gen Z girl about Andrew Tate. And she doesn't seem like super, one side or the other. So I'm very interested to see what she says here. Before we do that, Nick says, that's so true. If we didn't experience the polar opposites, like happy and sad, how would we know either of them? We couldn't. All right, let's see what she says.
I think for boys, they're hearing the same messages over and over again, which is obviously the kind of demonizing masculinity, saying you need to become more sensitive, you need to be almost more like women in the way that you think about things and approach things. And I think, men tend to just process their emotions differently and think about things differently. It doesn't make them wrong. But I think now we're almost telling men that all of the ways they do it are toxic or too blunt, so they're trying to kind of become more feminine. And so I think someone like Andrew Tate comes along and he has a masculine approach to it, quite heavy-handed and a bit blunt. But I think for men that's appealing because it's the same with girls. They're being lied to quite often and kind of convinced that there's something wrong with them. And then you have someone come along and say, oh, well, if you have these masculine traits, then it's a good thing. You can be strong, you can do this, whatever. So I can see why that's appealing. And I think, yeah.
Based.
No, it makes sense. And I said
my button was working. Based. Interesting. So she can see, as somebody who is obviously not, just brainwashed by the establishment narrative, that she can see the value. I would be surprised if she was, checking out Andrew Tate content and keeping up with what he does and all this stuff like that. But that seemed like a very mature and reasonable answer. Dietrich says, hey, Dan, chicken soup, pajamas, nickel, toaster, rainstorm, yard sale, Easter, golf, reindeer, eagle, choo-choo train.
What?
You are evil. MJ says, we could also say that about where a person grew up. New Yorkers come across as aggressive to Southerners. Oh, yeah. I remember one time I was even, I was visiting some Florida and family. I was visiting some family in Florida. And we were sitting like somewhere in like a plaza or something. I don't remember exactly. And waiting for someone to come meet us. And so it was a public place, and we're sitting there, and then this guy starts coming in and walking like kind of directly towards us. And we're all like, yo, what's good? He's getting closer, and he's closer and closer, and he's like, all right, whatever's going on here, we're gonna have to handle this. He walks by, he's like, hey folks, how you doing today? We were like, what? You don't do that in Jersey. You don't just walk up to somebody and talk to them. Mind your damn business. That's the East Coast for you.
At the time, what I find very puzzling, although it's not puzzling, I think the answer is quite obvious, is like whenever anyone comes along who taps into that frustration that young men feel about, like, this is how I am, but I'm being told that the way that I am is wrong, right? Whether it's a Jordan Peterson or an Andrew Tate, who I have my reservations about, no one ever goes, why is that? No one ever goes like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, what are they lacking?
Exactly.
They're filling a vacuum. Yeah, I don't know. I think, it's just, we hear the same messages over and over again. And when someone has something different to say, it's really appealing. Mm-hmm. And there's probably stuff within what he's saying that is useful that
she said
boys should be listening.
She said probably, meaning that she doesn't really watch. She just understands the role that he is playing. Very interesting.
To, but we kind of need to listen as well and figure out what that is.
I think Andrew Tate is a very good example of what happens when there are not enough healthy role models.
Yeah.
So someone who is as out there as he is will come along and hoover up there.
Oh no. We were doing so good. The struggle stream is real. Come on, baby. We'll give it a sec. I mean, we really kind of got to the end here. We're very familiar with Andrew Tate. So if we do have to cut it here, we have been going 3 hours. But I do want to finish this up. Come on. Actually, no. Every time I get a new tab, then... I don't know what to do. Fix it. Somebody help me. Come on. All right, I'm gonna let's try this. Sometimes I feel like it's the camera. No, I don't know what's going on. All right, well, I'll let it play. If it comes back while I'm... No, it's not even showing the play button. All right. Well, if it comes back, then we'll finish it up. But it looks like that's as much as we're gonna get out of Freya India and the Triggernometry boys. But very interesting to get a look into what these kids actually think about the things that we're talking about all the time. We're talking about them all the time. Oh, the kids are doing this, Gen Z is doing that, blah, blah, blah. But now that they're finally getting old enough to speak for themselves in a way that we can trust, and when I say trust, meaning that it's not, just a child speaking, then it's enlightening. It's enlightening to be able to see that there is hope. There is hope. Oh, and there is Dan. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Out sponsoring himself once again. Once again. Let's give him a double for that. And since we've finished the jerky treats, the next stream we are opening the peanut butter treats. So yep, that's for you. That's for you. Say thank you to Dan. One more. Yay! Thank you so much, Dan. I really do appreciate you. I'm not going to do the math because I don't want to, we're about to end and I don't want to stop the show just to do it. But you guys know that Dan is the tits. He is the top of the top. He is my biggest supporter. And you know that, hey, if you come in here, likely Dan is going to be the sponsor. Thank you so much. Still not working here. I guess we're done with that. What comments do we got here? So MJ says, oh, social media is the new Catholic Church, i.e. how the church controlled the narrative in the Middle Ages. That is spot on. And again, that brings us back to the point that I always talk about on this channel, that if this is the case, then is it not better to make sure that church doesn't overtake your church, the Christian church, the Christian presence? I personally don't care if it's specifically Christian. I just care about the values. But both of us care about those values. And if we don't recognize that this is going on, we're not going to be able to fight back against it. So it says, but they literally burn people at the stake versus just canceling. And I mean, to them, to Gen Z, it's the same thing. Nick says, East Coast is different, isn't it? Oh yeah. I guess all the surfers here on the West Coast are a little more friendly. Yep. Or everybody's just high. Oh no, we do tons of drugs over here, but gotta keep it moving. Let's go. Even those of us who are, on our downers and didn't look, speed it up. Give me my shit. Let's go. I don't know. It's just, you got places to be, people to see, things to do. I don't got time for that bullshit. Again, Dan, thank you so much. They're kids. He said, I'm a big kid, I'll have you know. I mean, there's a lot of people that call millennials kids, and it's all relative, especially as I think was it you? I was talking about this last night. I don't know. I was talking to somebody last night or the other night about how when you are getting older, you don't necessarily. No. It was Nick talking about how time, literally moves faster when you get older, and it's relative. Another side of that is it is impossible. It is impossible not to focus on age when you're speaking to somebody who is younger than you. I don't know what it is. I used to hate it. I used to hate it so much when I would be talking to somebody, be like, oh, well, you're young, you're this, you're that, and like just big broing me just because of my age. But then I do the same exact thing. It's impossible. The older people here, you'll know that you talk to somebody that's 5 years or more younger than you, and you just gotta talk about it. In my day, I don't know what it is. All right, D-Trix with a serious statement. Everybody, serious statement. The amount of fatherless homes being rare, non-drug addicted, abusive, criminal, reprobate product of one. The thirst for identity and belonging is so chaotic because the rut or the root of moralless antagonists in life is so deep, it's easy to fall in. Yep. It's easier to fall in than to aim high because the drive is killed because you feel as if a person who is supported to love you the most finds it a needless battle, leaving the child wanting. Interesting. Let's go to that one more time. The amount of fatherless homes, speaking as someone who came from one, the thirst for identity and belonging is so chaotic because the rut of morallessness, antagonists in life, is so deep, it's easier to it's easier to fall in than aim high. The what's the word? Oh, the temptation. There we go. The temptation of evil. It's there. It's real. As an atheist, I can completely agree that is the case. Does it come from above? That is not relevant. That doesn't have to be relevant. That's the real point. It doesn't have to be relevant. But yes, it's just easier to fall in than to aim high. And it seems like it's a needless battle. Perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. You're absolutely right, sir. You are absolutely right. Dan is the supporter. Yes, sir, he is. Morty must love Dan. Morty loves Dan. Morty loves Dan. We're all just lazy. We're all lazy. Andrew says, but West Coast surfers are more likely to be eaten by a great white shark than East Coast. That is true. Well, not if you stay out of the water. But, we're going to the beach tomorrow. Why would you want to stay out of the water? Andrew says, so are you saying that I don't have the support to guide you? Me? Is this directed at me or somebody else in the chat? I don't know what you're talking about. All right. One last try. We're going to get a reload here. Let's see what we got. Reload the page and see if we're going to do it. Otherwise, let me drop the link to the Discord server. As soon as this is over, which it might be very quickly, we are going to head over there and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. And you get to, it's a panel thing. It's not like here where we're in the chat. This doesn't seem like it's going to be working. So yeah, let's head over there. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm trying to find a better way to articulate to you guys how much I appreciate you hanging out. And I don't know how to do it. So you're just going to have to deal with me being a little bit mushy at the end of every show, because it really does mean so much to me that you guys are spending not only just your time,
that market, and to make sure that you're getting matches. It's almost like you feel you have to.
All right. Well, now we're getting back, but I'm not finished saying that I appreciate. I appreciate you guys so much that it is it surprises me that I come back and there'll be times where I really don't want to do anything. I'm just I she had to get the last word. I don't feel like doing anything, and maybe I'll just nobody's gonna notice if I skip it, and whatever, and then I force myself because I care about the message, I care about the mission, and I care about you guys, and I come here and you guys just fill me up with energy, and it's just awesome. You guys are awesome. So so before we dive back in, MJ says, so back to Dietrich's, did you find that the path you took tricked you into thinking it was an easier path? Great question. Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, the question, or the original question, talking about Dietrich saying that it's easier to go down the bad road than to aim high. So you're saying that you don't have the support to guide you, and therefore it's easier to go down that path. Nail on the head. And Dan's got to head out. Dan, thank you again, brother. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Can we get one Dan in the chat? Let's just hit Dan to show him how much we appreciate sponsoring the entire stream, sponsoring himself like he always does. Thank you so much, brother. You have a fantastic night. and sleep well, brother. You're up way too late. Yes, have a great day. Have a great day. Appreciate you too. Dan, look at all that love, baby. All that love. All that love. Dan is the man. All right. So it looks like we got about 10 minutes. Let's finish this up and go over to the after party.
A good example of what happens when there are not enough healthy role models.
Yeah.
So someone who is...
So things like cancel culture, women are more...
As a women, they're surrounded by women. Education has become more and more feminized. So traditional male behavioral types like boisterousness, wanting to be physically active, actively looked down upon. Then someone comes in to give what, in their eyes, is a positive vision of masculinity. Why wouldn't they follow it?
Yeah, and I wrote a piece about how the kind of social justice activism, the culture today is very feminine in nature. So things like cancel culture, women are more likely to use indirect methods of aggression like reputation destruction, social exclusion. They're more likely to be risk averse. So safetyism is kind of parallels, typical female behavior. And I think a lot of this stuff that's happening in culture is feminine in nature. And some boys and men don't feel like they fit into that. That's not how they would have society be. And,
and I'm not necessarily the bastion of masculinity. I try to be, a good man. But, I'm short, I'm weak, I'm sensitive. I'm, all these different things that are probably not the bastion of masculinity. But at the same time, it's not something that I necessarily. I don't want to put this. She said something. Hold on, give me one second.
That's not how they would have society be, and that they're feminine in nature. And some boys and men don't feel like they fit into that. That's not how they would have society be.
I completely forgot where I was going with that one. Sorry. Dietrich says, so as far as I personally came into my development, I was not subjected to a lot of the negative influence. Not a lot of the negative influence to me. However, the soulless jungle of inner cities looms on children, almost a narrative built for the injection of their psyche. Heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. And so, the question remains: how do we fix that? If we start to get the types of leaders that will address that, maybe not in the perfect way, but Andrew Tate certainly was occupying a void. If we try to shoot that down, what do you expect to happen? All goes back to the fourth turning. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make bad times. And it's the bad times that make strong men. So if we need to, we're in the bad times. And so we need somebody to make us strong men. The times should do it on their own, just living a shit life. But the escapism is at such an all-time high that that's not really the case. I'm just cities don't seem to be positive living conditions for humans. Facts. I find cities to be unfriendly and sterile or unsterile, like completely the opposite of sterile and disgustingly dirty. Yeah, but both my brother and my sister live in Philly, and never could I live in the city. I don't have any idea what appeals to people after the age of 25 when you're not interested in nightlife. Like, why? It's I used to live in New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is where Rutgers is. So it's a college town, and it was after I went to college, and gotcha. Sterile is in not having personality, not sterile as in clean. Gotcha. Fair enough. I was living in this college town, and it was loud. There was just college kids drunk all over the place. You know it. And it's just nasty. And that's not even like a city. That's just like an urban town. It's an urban college town. So it's on a much smaller extent. And it's just like, I don't like little things like food shopping. I don't have a routine, structured enough life where I can go to, the corner market like 3 times a week because I ran out of one ingredient. I need to take my car to a supermarket, buy 3 months worth of shit, put it in my trunk, and then not have to worry about that for another 3 months. I can't. Yep, that's a province in Canada as well. I just could never live in the city. I don't think it's good for like you're saying. I don't think it's good for your mentality. I don't think it's good for humanity. I don't think it is the way that we were meant to live. And this quasi-capitalistic society not forces, but incentivizes people to get packed in because they care so much about their job and their ease to get there that it's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. Get out of the cities if you can. Get out. Get out if you can. Oh, I didn't know that word. Oh, okay. So space button is really, it's not even the latest comment. Come on. London, Ontario is the city, but I like it right now due to social life. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. You're younger. So like if you're younger and you're into the nightlife, then that makes perfect sense. Like if you're 35 and either you're still going out every night and going to the clubs and staying out until all hours of the morning, then unless you have some kind of job like mine where I don't wake up in the morning, then like, what are you doing? I don't really feel like it's healthy. Like, not like physiologically, but like it's not good for your mind to just have such a heavy presence of nightlife. Like it's the epitome of all of this stuff that we're talking about. It's where all of this is bred. So I don't know. I mean, no shade to anybody who lives in the city. If you like it, I'm glad you're happy, but you ain't never going to find me in a city. Dietrich says, it's not a matter of politics, in my opinion. It takes a village to raise a child. When the village is burning the child... When the village is burning, the child... when the village is burning, the child is scarred. When the village thrives on blood, the child will kill. It's a true crime. That's some heavy stuff, man. Got some heavy stuff, but I gotta completely agree with you. If the village is burning, the child is scarred. Yep. You don't like the villagers, though? What do you mean? Oh, you're joking. Gotcha. It definitely does, but I think you get, the idea of, it takes a village is not necessarily that you need a lot, a high number of people that you would find in a city versus a suburb. It's just having that support system. And you're not as likely, the small town type of mentality, you're more likely to have a village than just a bunch of people in the same place. Yeah, I don't know. Nick says, I agree. I still miss my hometown. And it's so small, to this day, it doesn't have a stoplight, just stop signs. Wow, that's pretty small. That is, so how many people were in your graduating high school class? Mine was just under 500. I think it was like 470, something like that. Yep, getting real deep with Dietrich. Hey, we got Emilio Cesar Guerrera in the building. Welcome to the party. Said, I want to be part of this conversation. Well, now you are, sir. Just rolled in here by scrolling through YouTube Shorts. Oh, interesting. What's the topic? So, This right here is Freya India. She's a 23-year-old journalist, and she's on the Triggernometry podcast. And we've just been talking, kind of on this channel, we've been talking a lot about the effects of social media and TikTok and all that stuff on Gen Z. But this is the first time we have the ability to speak with a Gen Zer who is not, that we're not looking at them like a kid. She's very well spoken. She's very meticulous and thoughtful about what she's saying. And she's given some good answers. And I don't know how old you are, but I'm 33. A bunch of us are older here. So like I said, we've been talking a lot about it, but not so much hearing from Gen Zers in a way that we could trust.
And, it's not because they're wrong. And I think, so someone masculine comes along, it's very attractive to them because it probably aligns more with their traits than the culture now.
And the other thing that I find worrying is so he's in prison. Nobody knows if he's guilty or innocent. But people think, right, okay, that's it. The problem is dealt with. We've got rid of him. And I'm there thinking, well, no, the problem isn't dealt with because then somebody else is going to come along and tap into it.
Yeah, maybe work.
So Emilio's 25. That's a perfect age. We were just talking about nightlife and like living in the city. And I was saying if you're over 25 and you're, or excuse me, if you're under 25, it makes sense why you want to live in a city because of the nightlife and all that stuff. But after that, I would want to get out of the city as fast as possible. I'm saying my older brother, my younger sister, both live in Philly, and I just hate city life. It's dirty. It's and like MJ said, it doesn't have any personality. I mean, Philly is better in terms of personality than New York City, I think, but still not as much as just your hometown where people and there is stuff that you do. There's experiences. One of the big things that Freya, the girl here, has been talking about, has been saying that Zoomers just don't have experiences. They were talking about sexual experiences, but it's not just that. It's just experiences in general. They just sit at home and y'all are just on your phone all the time. I'm not saying you specifically, but the generation is not experiencing as much of life as millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, etc.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's true. I think like you said, there's a vacuum there that someone they're filling a demand for something. So we need to figure out what that demand is for, and try and figure out what it is within that kind of ultra masculine front that someone like Andrew Tate has. What is it that they find attractive about that? Because there is value in it. Surely there is, if so many people are interested in it.
Well, there's definitely value in it in the sense that if you're telling people to take men particularly, to take responsibility, to pursue their dreams, these are things that a lot of men of your generation have never heard in their lives. They've never been encouraged. But then, as I said, I think someone who says this, you should only see your children once a year or whatever, that's probably going in the wrong direction there. So that's why I say healthy role models. And, I think that's why Jordan Peterson actually became as big as he became, because
shout out to JBP.
Here's some rules, And I
clean up your room. And I mean, it's crazy to me that so many people hate Jordan Peterson. I get if he's not your flavor or whatever, but to have a hate for him, that's his whole thing. Clean your room, clean yourself up before you try to fix the world. What's wrong with that?
I think that it's important for people like that to be coming through and giving positive visions of masculinity, and for society to stop demonizing masculinity
and I think
as well.
That's what men respond to. They respond to the kind of pick yourself up and sort yourself out. Girls don't really respond to that in the same way. We need a different approach.
They respond to it, but not in the same way.
And I think boys don't really have that in society. It's all about you're doing fine, you're, relax, de-stress, take on less challenges. Whereas a lot of boys' mental health problems might come from the fact that they're not being pushed. Maybe they want to be pushed. They want to take on more challenges.
That's a great point. Speaking in terms of leadership and guidance and that stuff, that is where the Andrew Tate or the Andrew Tates of the world, let's say, that's where they come from. They, we talk a lot about how the red pill space is kind of falling off, and there's a lot of good tenets, but the messaging and the people who are giving that messaging are not ideal. But it's better than nothing. As someone who didn't have that information, as somebody who was one of these blue pill beta plugged in, Disney girls are sugar and spice and everything nice, and then everything's like a rom-com. I was one of those guys. I've made some questionable decisions by thinking with the wrong head. And I needed somebody to tell me the right thing. So we're talking about Nick being in a small town. I'm going to say I don't remember, but even in the small town, it felt big. Probably around 100. So that's not too small. And we, because I only had one high school in my district, and it was, like I said, 500 in the class. So that, it's not tiny. I went to college with some friends who had like 40 people in their entire, not just their class, their entire school. Their entire high school was like 40 people. So it's all relative.
So I think when someone comes along using that male approach, it's really appealing to them.
Do you think,
Amelia, what's your thoughts on Andrew Tate? Yay, nay, maybe?
On the flip side of it, though, we also demonize traditional femininity as well to some extent.
Feminists do.
My wife, before she had our son, she was always working, and she's now with our son and not working nearly as much. And you start to see that actually it's probably quite hard being just like a mum.
Yeah.
Whereas my mum was a housewife all her life. She has actually a very interesting business now, but that was never really as much of an issue. She was not demonized for doing that. No. And maybe also where the culture that I come from as well, in Russian culture was a bit different.
But in Mother Russia, mother's you.
If you were to say to your mate, and I'm just hypothesizing, but I'm guessing, you know what, I just want to stay at home with the kids. You'd probably have quite a hard time with it.
Yeah, they'd find that oppressive. Again, restrictive.
What if you chose it? Would that still be oppressive?
Of course, because feminism isn't about choices. It's about choosing what we want you to choose. You don't get to choose the thing we don't want you to choose. You have to choose the right thing. Otherwise, you're anti-feminist. Now you're a TERF. Now you're a this. You're a that. Emilio, or anybody else who is new to the channel, my whole thing is that there's two main things that has led to the breaking down of discourse, specifically political discourse in this country. Dogmatic thinking. On the right, it's religion. On the left, it's trans and woke ideology. And semantic obfuscation. Using words in a way that is amorphous and incorrect to win arguments and to push ideas across. So that racist doesn't really mean racist. Nazi doesn't really mean Nazi. Even anti-racist doesn't even really mean. It's just all whatever fits to make me win. Because there's no truth to them but power.
Yeah, I think they would think, I've chosen it because I've been conditioned to think.
By your husband or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because you've got the people kind of demonizing masculinity, but then kind of encouraging girls to be more and more masculine, like the becoming cold and detached in relationships so that you can, find a partner that way through casual sex, then you won't get hurt, things like that.
This is feminism is just making men more feminine and women more masculine. It's that's it. So if there was a value to that change, then I'd be all for it. And at one point there was. Thank you, brother. At one point there was. In some places in the world, we do need feminism. America ain't it.
Even in working, we're more encouraged to be masculine, independent. So it's either one or the other. Either masculine traits are good things or they're not. And it seems to be, both traditional femininity and masculinity are getting demonized in different ways.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, then, what do we do about all this?
Another huge question. He's just lobbing these giant questions over at this 23-year-old. No, I feel bad, but to her credit, she's been taking them in stride. She hasn't been, like what I would do is be like, okay, well, what do you mean? What about what? Doing what? What should we do about what? But the fact that she's just taking them on and going off and saying a lot of good things, I'm impressed.
Oh, I don't know. I think like I said, for a lot of these issues.
So, I mean, free if you're single, hit me up.
Gen Z needs to get out more and have more experiences, because I think the more time on your screen, it's worse for your mental health. You've got that constant social comparison, the targeted ads and algorithms, and you're not experiencing life. And I think that plays into the woke stuff as well.
That Facetune thing, the videos where they show that you can like body tune your whole thing. I knew Facetune was a thing, but I didn't know. That really blew my mind. And it puts you in a position to really understand, because, there are beauty standards for men that, we absolutely have to look up to, being strong, being tall, even having a beard and, maybe a better groomed beard than this one. But it's not nearly the same with women. And to see the degree of deception, I can't even, conceptualize how much damage that is actually doing to the minds of to the mind of a young woman, crazy.
You're just staying in the same online communities, getting served the same content. And I don't think that's good for mental health. I don't think it's good for your development in general. So I think, that's the one thing that young people can do.
Freya, it's been an absolute pleasure. We always finish with the final question, which is always, what's the one thing we're not talking about as a society that we really should be?
I think it's girls' mental health. I think we are talking about it a lot, but we need to be talking about it with more.
That wasn't the question. We said, what we're not talking about. And she said, we're talking about it. Come on.
Passion. These aren't problems that are just nothing new. I think that, this crisis is the product of a lifetime of conditioning. I think that we're the first generation of girls to be made to feel insecure, anxious, unwell.
Are you, though? The first generation of girls to be made to feel insecure? This is what I mean about the notion of speaking with a Gen Zer and kind of looking at them as a kid. Like, that's obviously a ridiculous statement. You're the first generation for girls to be made to feel insecure?
What?
No. You are the first generation to have the least amount of I don't know, just all the, like, this is the best time and the best place to be a woman in all of history. In all of history, in all of human history. I mean, maybe there's some matriarchal community that existed at some point. I don't know. But by and large, this is as good as it gets. I'm not saying that the issues that you're talking about aren't real issues. But come on. Yeah, so exactly. We're talking about the Middle East. Like, I don't understand the men in the Middle East don't see their wives as equally important. I mean, that's just what the doctrine teaches. In Islam, that is what the Quran says. And again, dogma, they don't question it. It says the thing, so you do the thing. End of story. That is what dogma is. When we say, well, males can become females, you have to believe it. You can't question it. You just have to dogmatically believe it. Dietrich says the debilitating crush feeling you get in your stomach when you deceive someone has always lured me to a pain-free life in truth. Yeah! Word up. How one lives daily in falsehoods will always confuse me. I completely agree. I don't, it must be such a weight. Like, even just the very first level of just like remembering what you said. That in and of itself would be enough to be like, dude, I honestly don't care enough about you to lie and spend that mental energy to remember what that lie was. Completely selfish, but still truthful. Now, I'm obviously, not that's not the only reason, but still. Hey, we got Misanthropic Altruist in the building, coming in the last minute to say hello. Hello, sir. Glad you are here. We're talking with a Gen Zer about what it's like to be in Gen Z, and she just said that her generation. Well, I'll let you hear. We'll run it back because you'll definitely get a kick out of it. Let's get a couple more of these here. MJ says, but maybe they do in a way we don't understand. Nope, they do not. Cancast says, it's so good to be a woman right now. Even some men are trying it. Bar war. Dietrichs and IGA won't be able to get into oh, hell no. Hell no. You already know about that. You already know. I ain't getting anything mainstream. MA said Gen Zing is hard. Did I miss this one? Nick says most people throughout history, man and woman, have had it bad. Only few have had it easy. That is also a good point. There was a time, not very recently, but somewhat recently, where most people lived shit lives. Now we are in a place where there is a significant portion of people. I mean, let's just look at America. There's a lot of people who are not living great lives, but they're living better than the kings of the days that Nick is talking about. Very interesting. I didn't even think of that. Great point, Nick. All right, let's finish this up and head over to the after party.
All the time online to maximize.
Oh yeah, I want to back this up. I want you to hear this.
Nothing new. I think that this crisis is the product of a lifetime of conditioning. I think that we're the first generation of girls to be made to feel insecure, anxious,
We're the first generation of girls made to feel insecure. Oh, honey. Dietrich says, what also gives me that crush feeling in my gut? Not leaving a like on this amazing stream. Save yourself a tummy ache and do it, heathens. Indian Jesus is watching. Thank you very much, sir. And seconded by the Camcast. Very much appreciated, guys.
All the time online to maximize profit and boost engagement. And I think, people need to realize how girls are being manipulated and misled and the corporations that are cashing in on it. And I think
facts. So before we go back into that, MA says trade-offs. Relatively more hygienic and physically healthy compared to the rampant mental health illness. You got a point. You do, in fact, have a point. Yeah, I was going to say, a lot of that is not self-induced, but, self-fulfilling prophecy, induced by a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that doesn't change the fact that mental health or mental illness is out there. So you make a good point. You definitely make a good point. See, that's why I want you to hear it. Good point.
For girls, it's about, for Gen Z in general, not punishing themselves for feeling anxious and depressed and all of these things. And rather than feeling anxious about what's wrong with them and feeling angry that they're growing up in a world like this and that, corporations are capitalizing on it.
And
explain body positivity, ignoring medical science to make people feel better. Emilio Cesar Guerrera says, I definitely don't find myself complaining about life as much as my generation does. All I care about is my family. People should stop with that caged mentality and focus on self-improvement. Facts, brother. Facts. That is something that, a lot of people don't, they intellectually, they understand that is the right way to live. But in the moment, the micro decisions that we make, whether, I'm not talking about are you going to take this job or that job? What are you going to eat for lunch? Are you going to eat something, going on the body positivity thing? Are you going to eat something that is just going to, make you feel like shit, but it tastes so good? Or are you going to eat something a little bit better for you? It's these little things that add up, and now you're poor and you're fat and you're alone and you're this and you're that. Well, kind of did it to yourself. You kind of did it to yourself. And I feel, Emilio, I feel exactly the same way you do about your generation as I do about my generation. Because millennials, I can't stand millennials. As a millennial, I cannot stand millennials. We absolutely are the participation trophy generation, but it's the boomers' fault. But that, I can't stand it. So I completely understand. MJ says that is only because people didn't have the time to reflect on themselves and didn't have as many choices to make every day. Interesting. Very true. Very true. May says, my lungs aren't caked in cancerous carcinogens from years of smoking. They are frosted with happy soot. Feels good, man. That is semantic obfuscation. This is a perfect example. And obviously, he's being facetious, but this is literally how they try to sell. Take out smoking and put in transitioning. We're not mutilating your body. We're not giving you sterilizing drugs. It's gender affirming care.
What?
Feels good, man. Dialogical and diabolical. That's a good one. I like that.
And also taking action, I would suggest. If being angry for the sake of it isn't going to change anything.
Yeah,
right?
being angry and empowered to make a change in their own lives for their own mental health. Yeah.
Well said, Freya. I really recommend everybody read your articles. I hope you keep writing on your Substack, which I've been really enjoying. And I look forward to your book.
Thank you.
It's exciting times.
Awesome.
We're going to ask you a couple of questions from our locals that only they will get to see. But for now, thank you.
Only the locals, people. So yeah, I think this was super enlightening. Emilio, if you enjoyed what you saw so far, definitely go check out the replay. Because we got into a bunch of different topics. And except for that one line, that one thing that she said, that we're the first generation of girls to be made to feel insecure. But that was some Gen Z shit. But aside from that, she was very well spoken. She was engaging and just on top of it. And because she's sharing her experience more than talking about policy or this or that. We can start. It's becoming that time where more and more we're going to be able to hear from Zoomers, and we'll get a better idea of what these people actually think versus what we're being told they think, and what they're being indoctrinated to think. So Emilio says this comes from someone that's from Mexico and is still in poverty, but don't make excuses. I'll be starting my career in IT in 2 months. Congratulations, brother. Success is not a linear path. I also subscribe. Thank you so much, brother. And congratulations on your new career. And you're exactly right. This is, I'm my real job is a dog trainer. And, success is not a linear path. That's something I tell my clients all the time. And for you to be aware of that, and willing to do the work, that's awesome, man. That's what will fix people's lives. Doing what you're doing instead of looking for somebody else to fix your problems, and instead of looking for somebody else to make you feel good. Just do what needs to be done, and your life will be better. It's that simple. It may not be that easy, but it is that simple. So congratulations, brother. She also went down the feminist path. She touched on it, but was there anything really that out of pocket? I don't think it was that bad. I'm not championing the feminist stuff, but I don't. What is Z apologia? I should probably stop saying things out loud that I don't know what they are. That's probably a good streamer tip. A massage? I'll give you a massage, girl. What's good? What are we talking about? Let's well, we bring this to the after party. All right, guys, the party has not ended. The party has not ended. The Discord server is open. It is ready to go. It is free to join. I'm going to drop the link in the chat one more time, and let's pin that to the top. It is free. It is free. We are there hanging out in the text channels and stuff every single day, all the time. And then after every single stream, we go over and do an after party. And it's not, this format. It's Discord, so we'll all be in the room together. Everybody can talk. And I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about all of this or anything else? I mean, so did I. If she did, I missed it too. I may have addressed it, but and just like I don't disagree. But it didn't seem like she was. I don't have a problem with like trying to uplift women. It's the mentality that you can't do that without putting men down that I have a problem with. Like everybody should be able to advocate for themselves. That's not an issue. It's just don't put me down. I'm not the patriarchy. I've never been a president. I've never, Oh, did I miss it? All right. I mean, so two instances. 2 instances for a 23-year-old girl. That's good enough in my book. So thank you so much to all of you guys, who are here, who are hanging out, and especially a big thank you not only to the sponsor of the stream, Dan Jensen, but also MJ and Indie Film for contributing to the stream. Again, guys, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys. It is it means so much to me. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you over in Discord. As Nick is saying, everybody have a great night. See you in Discord. Yep, Dan is the man. Thank you so much. Once again, this is Morty. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace. What? Okay, we are out of here. Peace.